welcome back,
Little
guys, to the Sporting
chewing
Lounge.
ASMR.
Little chewing ASMR. Austin and I, Derpimation, twitch.tv/Derpimation here. Go ahead and come on in, pick up your feet, grab a beer, and relax. Because today we are going to be talking about Week 4 predictions. We're going to be talking about a couple start and sits going on that we want to talk about as we go over these teams. We're going to be talking about Tua Tagovailoa later in the episode. And I want to lead off the episode with big news from the NBA sphere, just ripping off the Band-Aid real quick before we get into the fun stuff. Just kidding, of course. But Damian Lillard to the Bucks.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm happy for him because he finally gets a chance at a ring because he's never going to get with his other team. So,
yeah, Trailblazers, just it's pathetic what they have done with his career. You know, it's like he's just been the only player on that team for a decade now. And it's so exciting to see him go and play with, you know, Gondas and, like, guys that actually want to go win a chip. So I'm really excited to see how this plays out. I am a big fan of the Bucks, a lot more than I already was, and I had them winning the championship last year. So
yeah, because Portland gets 3 players plus like 3 picks. The Suns get 3 players, no picks, and then the Bucks get Lillard, which not a bad trade for them. I mean, if they really want him, which they really did. So
if you're looking at if you're looking at it like this, you know, like you got one objective right now. There's only one thing that team wants to do at this position, and what is it?
Lose.
You're such a cunt. It's more annoying because you knew exactly what I was saying. Win. They want to win.
I know.
They want to win.
Because I said it like 2 seconds before you asked that question.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm funny. I make myself laugh. It's fine.
Yeah.
They want to win. And if they don't win, what do you think they're gonna do? Do you think they're gonna? What do you expect?
I think they got 3 years with this build.
Okay. And if they don't win in those 3 years, at least make a significant dent. It's gonna be embarrassing for them.
They need to go twice and win once for it to be a success.
Especially with how much they gave up.
Yeah, that's the position. That's what the Bucks are saying with this trade. They're saying we're expecting to go at least twice and win one in the next 3 years.
I wouldn't be surprised if they do. At least win one.
Yeah,
that's my expectation for them now.
Yeah.
It's just funny because the Jimmy Butler is calling the Bucks out and saying that they need to be investigated for tampering. And then I know the Heat were there's like big rumors surrounding the Heat that they're supposed to or trying to at least get Lillard, work out a trade for him. So I'm happy the Heat didn't get him. Fuck the Heat.
That's fair. Yeah, like he would have been crazy on the Heat though.
And only at 33 years old, still balling out. Like, I mean,
he got a good another 5 years.
At least. If he keeps playing the way he did, because last year he averaged like 30-some points, 31, 32 points a game last year. So I wouldn't be surprised, especially I'm actually kind of excited to see them play next year. Honestly,
yeah, it's going to be a good team. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Super excited.
Just like they're going to be one of those teams that are just going to dominate the key and just like get inside the paint. And they're going to be able to shoot on the outside too. It's not going to be like a Pistons team where it's like they rely on going inside the paint and they're trying to get 20 layups a game. But like when the ISO breaks down, you know, like they're going to beat you at the rim too. You know?
And what a surprise. They're the favorites to win.
Are they now? Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Who would have thought it, right?
Who would have thought it? Who would have thought it?
Yeah, because it's the Bucks, Nuggets, Celtics, Suns as the top teams that are favored to win right now, at least. Yeah. Milwaukee plus 375, Nuggets 425, Celtics plus 500, Suns plus 550 as the top 4 people. But we'll see. We've seen teams like this fail in the past, but we've also seen them succeed.
Yeah.
So
like
I hope they win because I want Dame to finally get a chip.
Yeah, me too. It's been a horror story watching it unfold.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it was going to be one of those players. I'm saying it too soon, but with the expectation I have, like he's one of those players where you're looking at him and you're like, he's going to be a Hall of Fame guy, but he's never going to get the respect he deserved because he never got to the fucking big game. He's never going to get.
So since you brought up the Hall of Fame, do you think he will be a first ballot?
He needs a chip.
He'll be more like second or third.
He needs a chip
to be first ballot.
He needs a chip. I think if he goes to the Bucks and gets one chip, it's a conversation. I think if he goes to the Bucks and gets 2 chips in the first 3 years, it's a lock because of what he's already done. Like he's already a menace on the stat sheet. The biggest thing you could draw on him is that he doesn't have his playoff wins. And like you can kind of look at the team and be like, it's pretty bad. It's like a bad team surrounding him every year in and year out. And it's a weird situation. You don't usually see this with a player where they continuously play for this horrible of an organization that doesn't care about progressing towards a championship. When you got Damian Lillard, you don't stay in rebuild mode for a decade. You just don't.
Yeah, and it's not like he didn't ball out.
Yeah.
With Portland too at all. He balled out almost every single year.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of like a perfect relationship because the Bucks need him and he needs the Bucks.
Yep,
kind of thing,
exactly.
So it's kind of like one of those perfect marriages type thing. Where he's going to fit in nicely on the Bucks, I believe. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch. They're going to be a lot of fun.
And I'm looking into this real quick. 7-time All-Star. Like, he was Rookie of the Year. He made it on the 75th anniversary team. He's 7-time All-Star, 7-time All-NBA. And we're talking about him only missing the dance 4 times throughout his career. So, like, that's the kind of numbers where you're like, he's a Hall of Fame caliber player. When you're looking at his points and everything, when you watch him.
He's doing a lot of heavy lifting on Portland.
Yeah. At age 32, I think you said this earlier, he was averaging 32 points per game. Like, that's insane. He was almost averaging a steal per game. He was averaging almost 5 rebounds per game. Total rebounds. It's time. It's time for Dame to get a fucking chip.
Yeah, I'm excited. I expect them to win it. I mean, I believe they were one of the favorites last year too, regardless. But now this kind of just puts them way over the top, honestly.
For sure.
So like, really, CJ McCollum was the best player that Dame ever played with, and they were a good tandem. They're a pretty damn good tandem. Now McCollum's on the Pelicans. Kind of got rid of him, and now they got rid of Lillard. So I'm curious. I'm kind of curious to watch and ready to watch Portland next year and see how they do. Watch them potentially be a bottom 5 team.
I don't think it's a potential.
I would not be surprised.
I don't think it's potential. I think it's
just going to happen. But I expect it, and I would not be surprised.
Speaking of Damian almost getting 35 points per game, it was 32.2. I like to transition into the total score from the Packers game last week, which was 35 total points. Packers take over the Saints, 18-17. Jordan Love gets his second win. And with that being said, let's dive into football. Thursday night, Green Bay Packers hosting Detroit Lions. What are we thinking?
I thought. Oh yeah, the Packers did win. Damn. I mean, that's fine because I work with a Saints fan, so.
Okay.
It's all good. I thought the Lions were going to be in week 3 because they were down so many defensive players. I was kind of expecting them to lose almost, right? I wasn't expecting them to have as dominant of a defensive performance as it did.
Yeah.
Granted, they're going against the Atlanta Hawks, but I still expected them to kind of lose and show where they're weak at because they lost a lot of defensive starters. But they proved me wrong. They shut me the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's fine. They can go. Lost me the damn week in fantasy football, but I expect them to. I almost expect them to lose because the Packers are a much better team than the Falcons. I would be a lot more surprised if they they win this week than I was last week. Because they are a much better team. Although I don't really believe in Jordan Love because he's not very accurate throwing the ball, but he does get the touchdowns and they do produce, right? That's the most important thing. They do
On a
produce. I
fantasy
do
level.
think
7-to-1 interception ratio, 655 passing yards, and the reference stat that he's referencing is the 53.1 completion percentage.
Right, but they also do produce in real life as well enough, right? Their defense gets stopped. Granted, I do think they lose that game if Derek Carr doesn't go down with the shoulder injury.
Yeah.
I think they lose that game because Jameis, I don't know if you watched it or not, but when Jameis was in, he just looked bad. He didn't look comfortable in the pocket. He didn't really throw the ball well or accurate, and he made some bad decisions.
See him climbing ever. It was just
he threw in
as soon as Derek Carr went down, it was just like that offense died.
Yeah, Jameis was throwing into too tight of coverage when he had other people open, so he was way too quick on his read. He didn't allow progression. He didn't allow receivers to make space. He just threw, a couple seconds after the ball was hiked, which isn't always enough time. So I think mistakes were made, and I think the Packers got lucky last week. I think realistically it should be 1-2 this week, but that's just me.
I think the Lions take care of business. I do. I think that this could be a statement win for Jordan Love, but Jared Goff is playing out of his mind right now. 70% completion rate, insane. 819 passing yards on 5 touchdowns, 2 TDs. We're talking about a dominant performance. So far throughout this season. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't look the best last week, but I think David Montgomery is supposed to be coming back this week. He only had a thigh bruise.
He's questionable.
Yeah, so Montgomery
decision. Same with Christian Watson.
Yeah, Montgomery being there, that. I was talking about this not this last week, but the week before. Montgomery really has been setting that tempo for that Lions offense. His stats aren't eye popping, but when you're watching the games and he's running through 4 or 5 people, that's when you're okay, they got something cooking here because it's giving Jared Goff all day in the pocket. They set up play action, and next thing you know, St. Brown's down the left side of the field, and he's dropping a dime right into his basket because he has all day to throw and no one in his face. And they're making Jared Goff look like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback right now, and David Montgomery is a big reason for that. And him coming back, I think he's going to be a key player in this matchup. And in fantasy, he's going to be one of those players where I would start him immediately if he's back.
You start Jahmyr Gibbs?
Yeah. I'd start
Then
both.
You start them both? Okay.
Yeah, I'd start both. Because they get enough
probably
touches.
Start both because and Jahmyr Gibbs does his best, or at least the previous 2 weeks, with David Montgomery out there. So I definitely agree with that. On the Packers side, I don't know who I'd start outside of Jordan Love, really, because it's kind of a crapshoot of who you think. It's really just who you think is going to get the touchdown.
GDs. Yeah.
In that offense. Because he kind of spreads the ball around evenly, but he's not a consistent touchdown thrower to one person kind of thing. Right. So I mean, with their top 3 guys being Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, and the other guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But if Christian Watson plays today, then you don't know what's going to happen because Christian Watson is supposed to be the number 1 guy in that offense. But is he still going to be the number 1 guy after missing 3 weeks?
Right.
Is Jordan Love going to be thrown to him missing 3 weeks, or is he going to be more comfortable throwing to one of the other 2 or 3 guys that he has been throwing to consistently?
I think you're thinking of Wicks, by the way. But Watson is listed as questionable and first string wide receiver right now on the public depth chart. So I would assume so. And there was so much hype around him coming out of training camp. If they don't start him, I would be surprised. Honestly, I'd be very surprised.
I think they're going to start him, and he's still going to be the number 1 receiver in that depth chart, but I question if he's going to be the wide receiver 1 to Jordan Love. Or is he going to be his go-to target, his clutch moment target, or is he going to be leaning towards those other 3 guys or the tight end Luke Musgrave, which has been getting good work the first 3 weeks of the season.
I think
in those crucial moments.
I think Christian Watson will be wide receiver 1 in fantasy. So yeah, I do think that he'll be getting a lot of relevant targets, and I think that their offense will look significantly better with Watson out there. With the amount of hype that
he had, dynamic, right? Because because he's a big body guy. He's like 6'4", right? So he's a big red zone guy. So especially when they get to the red zone, he's going to be a big body target along with the tight end. Because Jaden Reed's not that tall. I think he's like 5'11". If I remember correctly, he's on the shorter side, but he's fast and he's quick and he gets downfield.
So Christian Watson also ran.
I don't know if I'd start Christian Watson though the first week back. I'd be a little hesitant. So but if I needed him, I would probably start him.
I'm going to say this. The big thing people were talking about him coming out of camp was his possession catching was insane. He runs a 4.36 40.
Mm-hmm.
He is 6'4", 208 pounds. He's going to get open. And the offense was kind of built around him from how the thing sounded. Like, it was kind of built around him getting the ball, deep. And you see the build right now with Jordan Love dropping a lot of these bombs downfield.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you get Christian Watson in there? I think week 1, that's why. Because it just makes sense. Like, look at how the Packers offense is operating. You're looking at a lot of like gritty running and then a play action setup and a couple deep passes every drive. That's what you're looking at. Christian Watson fits that scheme perfectly. That's where he gets to eat. And week 1 back, like he only missed a couple weeks. It's not like he's coming off a season-ending injury, and we're talking about this at the beginning of next season. Sure. He just missed a couple weeks after training camp and preseason.
Yeah, because of hamstring.
Yeah, so we're talking about 2 weeks that he hasn't trained with the guy, and he's questionable, which means he's probably practicing. Like he's probably going to be ready week 1. That he returns.
Even though he, because I think it was his press conference yesterday. That he was saying that this was the first time in the previous 3 weeks that he says he's going to play, even though he's listed as a game time decision. So it's looking like he's going to play. And I think this is going to be a decently high scoring game. I'd probably take the over on the bet, which I'm not sure what the over under is right now, but I'd probably take the over. 46 is over under. I'd probably take the over on this one. I think it's going to be probably in the 60 points.
Did you say 46?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
The line is Detroit -1.5. And I kind of think whoever wins this, almost kind of want to say whoever wins this wins the division. Because ultimately, I think game. It is. I mean, they play each other twice, so they got another chance. But Green Bay's kind of calling this the revenge game, even though they're saying it's not a revenge game. I think it kind of leans that way for them. So I think this is a very important game for both teams because this is one of the better teams Green Bay has faced thus far. So I think it's huge for both teams. And it's one of the better teams. All right, so the Lions played the Chiefs, so it's not the better team the Lions have played, but it's the best team the Packers have played. So I think it's going to show a lot about where Jordan Love is at and where the offense for the Packers is at as a whole. Because it's definitely the best defense they've played.
Yeah.
And Jordan Love's already passing 54% on this season against the Bears, Falcons, and Saints. How is he going to do against the Lions and the much better defense that they have?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be curious to see how he does. Yeah.
Me too. Speaking of curiosities, why don't we go ahead and take a flight over to London?
The London, a little 8:30 a.m. action.
Oi, governor. Yeah.
I can't do it. Never mind. I'll shut
up. Falcons, Jaguars, go out to brunch. Maybe some tea in London. What are you thinking here, Austin?
Yeah, for the Falcons. They need to win this game. they need to. But the way the Jags played last week against, I think, an underrated defense. I think the Texans are much better than people want to give them credit for, especially on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep. Me too.
I think the Texans displayed that last week against a offense that I very much like. I think the Jags have a lot of potential on offense, a lot of speed, a lot of versatility. And the Texans kind of suffocated them, being down their number one cornerback.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the Falcons have a good chance to win this week. I don't think they win it. I think it's still going to be the Jaguars winning this. But it's a game I'm definitely excited for. I'm not starting really anyone for the Falcons besides Drake London, personally.
Yeah. I'm about Bijan, obviously.
Well, yeah. Bijan, maybe Tyler Algier, actually. No, I'm thinking about it too as well.
He's got 2 touchdowns on the season. Bijan has 0, so if you're looking for a touchdown, he's averaging 0.75 per game. He's
doing pretty well. Bijan's got 213 yards on the season, 40 carries. Yeah. Travis Etienne's just under that.
Yeah.
He has 205 and a tutty. So, but Bijan's doing pretty good work in the receiving game too as well. He looks good. I like him. I wish I got him, but that's fine. It's neither here nor there.
He's electric, isn't he? 14 receptions, 102 yards.
He's so fun to watch.
Yeah. He's already got 315 yards on the season. Like, that means he's averaging, 105 yards per game?
Yep.
And, 6 receptions or so per game?
In fantasy, that's damn good numbers. That's what you want every week.
And 0.33% touchdowns. So, that'll probably end up going up, but, we could probably say half a touchdown a game by the halfway point of the season, I would guess. He's going to have a game where he gets 2 or 3,
Yeah.
So, on average, we're going to say he gets 0.5 touchdowns at the halfway point of the season. At that point, he might be at 1,000 yards from scrimmage and averaging half a touchdown a game.
Do you think he could do what repeat what CMC did, where he had 1,000?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they run him more than they
I could see it.
But
I could see it.
I think as the season goes on, there's going to be games where they need to pass to him. Mm-hmm. They're going to be playing from behind, and they're down 2 touchdowns, but Bijan's open on the flat. You're gonna hit Bijan.
Little dumpy.
Yeah, little dump on the side.
Little dumpy.
Yeah, I personally
I'm here for it.
I think Falcons take it. Jaguars fall to 1-3. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing from the Falcons defense. I was saying it in the preseason. I was like, this Falcons defense is the real deal, man. And if the Jaguars couldn't get past Houston's defense, I don't know how they're going to get past Atlanta's.
So the line is Jacksonville -3 and 43.5 is over under. Would you be taking the over or under on that one? I'd probably be taking the over, honestly.
I'm taking the under.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's going to be.
I kind of see it as like a 31-21 type of game.
I see it as like a 21-13 type game because Atlanta's defense is that good, I think. I think so.
So you think Atlanta's that? I mean, okay, never mind. I lost my train of thought. Ignore me.
Do I think Atlanta's defense is that good?
I was just going to question you on it, but never mind. I forgot what question I was going to ask. So
here's the thing: do you think Atlanta's defense is better than the Texans' defense?
I don't.
Be honest with yourself for a second.
I like the Texans more, but I think Atlanta could be as good. I do like their defense. I just like Texans more, personally.
Yeah. Here's the thing with the Falcons' defense, though, is it's they stall offenses. There's not as many splashy plays and stuff, but it's they're letting them get 2 yards of carry here and there.
That's what they did the Lions.
Yeah, they just slow them down. It's they're gunking up their wheels, And sometimes that's what they held the Lions to 20 points. The offense should have pulled through on that game.
Desmond Ridder missed some wide open throws in that game.
Yeah, and just personally for me, the Jaguars, their defense is good too, but they did let up 21 points to the Colts. The Chiefs beat them in a close game, But it's just like, it feels like when I'm watching Jaguars film, it feels like there's just something not there. I don't know.
What do you think they're missing then?
I don't know. I like their blocking is good. Trevor Lawrence is looking good, but it's like I want more. Like it feels like it's just not enough. Like it feels like all the pieces are there. It's just not being utilized correctly. Like the blocking's there, the running's there. You got Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, so your QB situation's good. Like
Yeah.
defensively they look pretty solid. Like they have let up a lot of points. Against teams they shouldn't have, which is a concern. But like on paper they look solid. They held the Chiefs to 17 points, but then they let the Colts score 21 and they let the Texans score 37. So it's a weird team. And like when you watch that Chiefs game, it's like that defense looked really good. They ended up losing, but the defense looked really good. You watch that Colts game and the defense looked okay. And then you watch that Houston game and it's like the defense looked good on plays and then horrible on others. And like there's plays. I think CJ Stroud should have been sacked like 2 or 3 times that game more than he was, and they just weren't able to get that edge to really press through. It's just like basic things that like are just like silly mistakes, but they happen at like critical times. It seems like to the Jaguars this season, and I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and they look at CJ Stroud. Speaking of him, he's looking pretty damn good.
He is
through the season, through the first part of the season. I'm actually thoroughly impressed with him and how well he's actually performed. So I'm excited to keep seeing him play. I just hope he keeps it up. But it's so hard for me to judge the Falcons because they are kind of a weird team. Like they have the makings to be good. I just don't know if they can put it all together. I think it's definitely going to take a few years. They got the pieces, they got the young players, they got the talent on offense and defense.
Yep.
And I could see them being the Jags. I would not be surprised because I think he came up with a lot of valid points, right?
Yeah, like
I just think
I think a lot of people are looking at this game as a situation where it's like the Jags need to lose this game for Atlanta to win. But I think it's the other way around. I think Atlanta needs to lose this game for the Jaguars to win. If that makes sense what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it.
Like, I feel like the Falcons could be in control of this game from the start. I just do. Unless the Jaguars look way different coming out with this game. But like, Trevor Lawrence looks good. It's just like when you're watching Jacksonville, doesn't it just seem like something's not right? Like it seems like they're not getting as many explosive plays as they should, and it seems like I just don't know how to describe it.
For me, it's like they're not getting their. For me, my big problem is their running game, right? Because they got two very good young running backs, kind of like how Atlanta has two very good young running backs. And the Jaguars right now are just not doing enough to get them both involved heavily in the offense. And I think part of me thinks that they should be relying more on those running backs in the passing and running game.
Well, they got three really good running backs.
And they're just not doing it.
Yeah. Like, they got Dearness Johnson, too, by the way.
Yeah.
So, like, someone who, if one of your first two running backs goes down, you're very comfortable giving him the ball. So, like, and they're carrying 4 running backs on the roster, I think if they go into the season with but it's hard because it's like you got Trevor Lawrence, too, So it's like, do you want to, like, Trevor Lawrence can do it all. He's just that good. We know that. So it's like you want to do the running game, or would you rather let Trevor Lawrence pass the ball and like have an opportunity for that slant to turn into a touchdown? So I get it, but like fundamentally they do need to run the ball more. 49 carries from ETN. Trevor Lawrence is the second leading rusher on the team with 15 carries at 59 yards, and Tank Bigsby only has 9 carries at 23 yards. So that means, their running backs, their starting 3 running backs, only have 63 touches or carries from the beginning of the season. That's not a lot. That's like on average like 20 rushes a game. Like that's not a ton.
Yep. And I think ETN got the most so far in this past game that he's had all season, had like 17 carries or 16 carries, which is a lot. But I think they need to lean more heavily into the running game and actually establish the running game. Because right now they get like you watch the Jags play and then you watch them run and they don't look very good. They don't look very comfortable. Right?
They're
It's not
ranked 16th in the NFL in rushing attempts, by the way.
Right. Not surprised. Because they do run the ball, they just don't do it well at the moment.
Yeah.
And I would like to see them establish the run more.
Like, here's the thing. You know, when DeAndre Swift is having these crazy games and Deuce Vaughn and Tony Pollard are having these crazy games, they're getting 37 running back touches a game for the Eagles, 36 just about for Dallas. Baltimore has 35. Cleveland has 35. San Francisco has 33. Miami has 31. So think about the running backs in that system. Detroit has 30. Atlanta has 30. You know, like, think about those running backs and what their fantasy values are. There's a reason that their fantasy values on all of those teams are so high. Even a guy like Gus Edwards, who 2 or 3 years ago, you're like, I guess he's a flex. Yeah.
Right.
And now he's like a highly praised running back because of the scheme he's on. You know, like, you have 3 running backs that are capable. Get them the ball 40 fucking times a game. Make it so Trevor Lawrence gets easy play action passes after you rush it 6 times down their throat. Because you can do that if you're the Jags.
Yep. And they got the people to do it.
Like,
they have the ability, they just not.
Yeah, like, the thing is with the Jags is, like, you know, a lot of times what I've been seeing when I see Jags tape is they get a rush of like 3, maybe 4 yards, and then on second down it's an incompletion. And it seems like they get on that third down doorstep way too often, that 3rd and 4 to 3rd and 6 range. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, they're awful on third downs.
And then they don't convert. They just can't convert either. So, like, it's not the fact that the Jags are bad. It's just like, you know, like, maybe rush it on second down. And then when you're in that third down situation, now it's 3rd and 2. And now you get the option of play action or to rush it, or God forbid you go for the play action and don't work. You can go for it, you know, like.
As we've seen a lot the first 3 weeks of the season, way more than we usually do. And I'm here for it. I love it when teams go for on 4th down. I'm like, hell yeah, be aggressive.
Yeah. Speaking of going for it, the Dolphins just went for it last week, huh? 70-20 on the Broncos.
Ooh-wee.
And that brings up my highlight player of the week as well.
I did not see it coming, though, to be honest. Like,
I did.
I saw the Dolphins winning, but I didn't see him dropping 70.
Remember?
I didn't see Raheem Mostert having 4 fucking touchdowns and putting up 70 goddamn fantasy points. He channeled his inner Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he did, bro. It was awesome. And remember I was saying last week, I was like, the Dolphins are going to break the wheels off the Broncos. They're going to beat them by at least 20. Now, I didn't expect 50.
Yeah, I don't think anyone did.
Yeah. I was like, they're going to whoop their ass, but 50? Beat them by 50? Oh, and then they mercied them at the end of the game. In case you didn't see that.
Instead of going for the tie the record or anything like that, or going for the record.
They were on like the 10-yard line or some shit. They could have got it.
Yeah.
They had 2 minutes left. The way that offense was playing, they could have gotten it.
They could have, but
Mike
I respect the decision.
Class. Tip the cap to him.
I respect the decision not to go for it or not to try and score and just kneel it down. I respect it.
It's boring, but yeah. Feelings matter.
It's always boring when they kneel it down. I agree. But at the same time, it's like, why? You have no reason to go for it or try to get a touchdown or whatever. There's no reason for it. So I get it, but it is boring. I agree.
Yeah. But do you want to talk about Tua now, or should we do that later?
We can talk about it now since we're on the game.
Yeah. So I want to circle Tua as our focus player this week. 72 completions, 101 attempts, bringing him to a 71.3 passing completion percentage. Woo!
The same exact stats he was last week, or not last week, the last year through 3 weeks. I think that's crazy.
Yeah. And then 1,024 yards, 8 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, like good ratio. He's averaging less than an interception per game, and he's passing for like what, almost 3 touchdowns per game on average. Insane.
Yeah.
And he's passing for over 300 yards per game on average. Insane. He's averaging like 340 yards per game. He's averaging like 3 touchdowns per game. And like he's averaging like 0.75 a pick per game. Like, we're talking about an insane stat line, dude. Tyreek Hill taking the top off defenses like a fucking guillotine, dude. Like,
Tua is the only quarterback that I've talked shit about that I might recant and walk back and actually be like, okay, he's something. Because, my God, is he playing out of his mind? But he has the weapons for it, which is very good.
Jalen Waddle looks like a stud.
Tyreek Hill's playing great. The running attack is doing good. Devin Achane had fucking 202 yards rushing last week.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Imagine if you had Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane in your starting lineup. You're sitting fucking happy.
You are.
I saw this thing. I didn't actually look into.
You could have Tyreek Hill on that team too. Like, realistically, there's a good chance you got Tyreek and Tua.
Like,
you just got the whole Dolphins third offense.
If you played the entire Dolphins offense, like players you can play in fantasy, you score like 200 some points. You score over 200.
Yeah.
And you could have just played those 4 people, and you're sitting pretty for the week in most leagues, right? So it's like, fucking A. You could have just won off of those 4 players alone.
Yeah.
And set everyone else if you wanted to.
I lost if Tua was my starting quarterback, by the way. I was pissed. But let's talk about...
I expect great things from Tua. I think this Bills-Miami game, I think Dolphins are going to win. I think they got too much firepower for the Bills defense to handle. I don't like the Bills defense. I think they lost too much in the offseason, as we've talked about previously. I think we all kind of agreed that.
Loss.
Yeah, they lost a lot of good people, and I don't think the Bills offense can really keep up with the Dolphins. I like the Bills offense. I like what they have. I like the talent they have, but I don't think they can keep up. I think,
because,
especially, what were you going to say?
Like, the Bills defense is ranked second in the NFL, but the Bills have also played the following team. The Zach Wilson-led Jets, the Raiders, and the Commanders.
Yeah, and the best team being the Raiders.
Yeah.
I love Sam Howell. I like Sam Howell as a prospect, but he's not there as a quarterback. Garoppolo's the best quarterback they've faced, but Garoppolo is also more of a game manager type quarterback, right? So they're not going to be scoring a lot of points. They're going to be relying more on their defense to help them out. But I think the Dolphins have way too much firepower. The Bills are going to get overwhelmed quick, especially if the Dolphins get pressure on Josh Allen. That's when he really makes his mistakes, as we've seen in the past. He doesn't do well under pressure or under blitzes specifically. That's when he really throws those interceptions and rushes the play progression and rushes his reads. I don't like it for the Bills. I think they have a chance to win, better than the fucking Broncos. However, I think the Dolphins still win this pretty easily.
So, fun fact, by the way, Dolphins are ranked first on offense, total offensive yards. You want to guess where they rank passing? Did you say 4?
I said where.
Take a guess.
11th.
Okay, where are they at in rushing?
5.
What if I told you they were first in both categories?
Damn. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Who's going to stop this Dolphins team? Because before last week, the talk around the Broncos was they just had a couple tough losses. They're going to get back on track. Now, the Broncos are a laughingstock.
Yeah, because the Dolphins lead the league in rushing per game, passing per game, and overall yards per game.
Yeah.
Damn,
well, if you lead the league in both those, you probably lead in total.
Yeah. The next closest is the Vikings in both categories. But
they 0-3. That's crazy. But
Yeah.
like the Dolphins have already had pretty tough challenges this season. They took on the Chargers week 1 in LA,
Mhm.
And they beat Justin Herbert. Like as
Yeah.
a team, they did. Like the offense was really good that game. The defense was really good that game. And then they go to Foxborough, beat your Patriots. Sorry to bring
Mhm.
that up.
No,
I'm
that's
sorry.
fine.
But they beat the Patriots by a touchdown, and then they come out against the Broncos and make a statement. Who can stop the Dolphins? What team can stop the Dolphins right now?
So I think the when you play like the Patriots played, right? Because the Patriots played the Dolphins very close, and then ended up coming back to losing by 4 or 7.
7. Yep.
Coming back within the score. I think the Dolphins showed a lot of weaknesses, but they showed a lot of strengths in that game, and they showed what kind of defense can stop them. The Broncos, I don't know what happened to the Broncos in that game last week, but they just fucking collapsed. They could not stop anything for their life.
Yeah,
So
because
I think when you play the big thing for, or at least their passing attack, right, is a good solid secondary. The Broncos didn't have that. So when you're taking away, or at least limiting Tyreek Hill, because the Patriots played, I don't know if you watched the game, but the Patriots played a lot of 3 deep.
Yeah.
3 deep zone with their middle linebacker, essentially being in kind of like a spy to cover Tyreek Hill. They did a lot of that. So I think when you play that kind of offense against the Bills or against the Dolphins, it kind of limits them, but they still have enough to actually be able to score on you, which they did against the Patriots. So I think that's kind of defense you're gonna have to play against them. And if you don't, then you're kind of guaranteed to lose at that point.
Yeah.
Or at least if you don't have the speed to actually kind of play that, then I
Yeah,
think you kind of lose.
I think the Eagles and the 49ers can match up with them. I don't know if there's another team that could even has a chance to beat them. I don't.
Offensively, they do. Defensively, they do. But then there's some teams that I think could defensively like stop them or slow them down, but offensively, I don't think they can. Like the Patriots, I think could defensively slow them down, but they don't have enough offensive power to score more. Steelers, same way. Defensively, I think they could slow them down, but offensively, I don't think they have enough to score more. Lions, kind of the same way. I think they could, but I don't think they would. And that's kind of about it, honestly. Realistically, I think there's really only kind of like you said, 2 teams that realistically have a shot of beating them. But maybe the Chiefs.
Maybe the Chiefs.
Just only purely because they have Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, and he does some wild stuff. Back. Exactly. I know I kind of went on a tangent there, but I agree with what you're saying, but also there's a couple of teams that have a shot, but not necessarily enough to compete fully.
Yeah. So, you taking Bills or Dolphins this game?
I'm taking Dolphins, but I want to read you the line real quick. So it has Buffalo minus 2.5. So Buffalo's a favorite. And it has the over under at 54.
Yeah. I'm taking the under on that for sure. But Dolphins being the underdogs?
I don't understand.
Neither do I.
I mean, especially I
This is a game that the Bills need to win, though. Like, they need this game.
Yeah, and they're at home. Competitive in the division.
Yeah, because they lose this game, and the Patriots somehow start sniffing around and beat the Cowboys, which we'll get into later. That starts making the situation a little bit more sketchy,
Yeah, and if New York somehow wins, we got a potential, not really a 3-way tie, but we have 3 teams at 2-2.
Yeah.
Right. So things get a lot more sketchy things get a lot more sketchy for that division. I mean, I think Miami handedly wins this. I'd probably bet on I would do a Dolphins money line bet on this to win it, and then I would probably take the over. honestly, because the Dolphins are getting Jalen Waddle back. I don't think the Bills defense has enough to stop their rushing attack. Raheem Mostert and Devin Achane now. I think they're going to at least probably get a touchdown apiece. And then 2 or 3 passing touchdowns. And then the Bills, I mean, are going to get their work on the other side, but I 31-21. That's going to probably be my prediction. Actually, no. Sorry.
Yeah, that's under.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm thinking.
That's about where I'm thinking the score is going to be.
I think it's probably like 35-24 type thing, right?
Okay.
So if it gets the over, I think it's just going to barely get the over. But I think it is going to go over.
Yeah, I could see this game being like a 35-38 shootout. So like I don't think the over is unrealistic. Like I could see this game being like one of those featured games this week, but honestly, I don't think it will be. I was saying it all off season. You guys acted like I was crazy for saying it. I'm not hot on Josh Allen. Madden curse is real. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. Josh Allen isn't having a great season.
You and I felt the same way.
Yep.
With Josh Allen.
We're starting to see it. We're starting to see it come to the fold.
Yeah, especially after 3 interceptions in one game. Shoot.
Talk about Miami staying undefeated. Let's go ahead and talk about the defeated. Minnesota visits Carolina. Both teams are 0-3.
Not the worst game for Sunday.
It's not the
surprisingly.
Worst. It's not the
surprisingly.
There's
we'll get
much
to the worst game.
Ahead.
We'll get to the worst game later, which I think is going to be worse, and you might think the same as well.
Literally next game. It's the next game.
Okay.
We didn't talk about it. We just know.
I think Minnesota takes this game. I think they got enough star power. Not impressed with the running game, which I don't know if really anyone was with the Vikings having Madison. Like he did well in Dalvin Cook's absence, but the Vikings are for sure missing Dalvin Cook, and it shows. And it shows big time. But I think the Vikings win this pretty easy, and I believe Bryce Young is going to be back for this game. But
Andy Dalton had a hell of a week though.
He did. 34 for 58, 361 yards and 2 touchdowns.
The red rifle strikes again, my friend. The red rocket.
I just wish the Panthers did more in the offseason to surround Young with more weapons on the offensive side of the ball than just Adam Thielen.
Yeah,
and Miles Sanders.
I think the Panthers pull this out, man.
You do.
I like their defense a lot. I think it's a little underrated. I think their pass defense specifically is very good. Thing is, I just like the matchup a lot for the Panthers, and I think it's going to be an under type game too.
Yeah, because the line's at 45 and a half, so you taking the under?
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay, so let me ask you this. What do you think is going to, since we're talking about over-under now, what do you think the score is going to be then?
I think it's going to be like a 24-17 type game.
Okay.
So, I think it's going to be like within a touchdown or so, maybe a field goal, maybe 10 points. I'm not going to give a bigger point spread than 10. I don't see it getting out of hand or anything. But I do see the Vikings putting up a really good fight. And it's hard to bet against Justin Jefferson. Just like the thing is, like the Vikings look one-dimensional. They're putting up all the stats passing wise. Kirk Cousins is looking like a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, but like
second in the league, Pro Bowl
caliber quarterback needs to be able to run the ball more than 16 times per game. The league worst in the league, 16.7 attempts per game.
Their best were when they're running Dalvin Cook 20 plus times a game.
Yep.
And getting 45 yards a pop out of it. And they're not getting that from Madison. Some people expected Madison to do well. I know I believe you and I did not. Yep. We kind of saw and projected that they were going to actually prove and show how much they're missing Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Right.
I was on that same page too. Because like Dalvin's just one of those backs. And that's just the situation. It's like You lose one of those backs. You know what I mean? Like, one of those backs means that you're like in the same tier as CMC. That means that you're in the same tier as Nick Chubb. That means that you're in the same tier as, like these high end running backs. And Dalvin Cook was that in a bag of chips. He was always a quiet guy that always kept his nose down. He played for the Vikings, so it's not a big market team. So he's a guy that kind of fell out of top 5 conversations a lot of the time. But you look at his fantasy numbers, you look at his real stats, you watch him live. I swear, every time I watch a Vikings game, I seen Dalvin Cook rip off a 50-yard run. Every time. Yeah. I couldn't go without watching a Vikings game and not see him rip off a 50-yard run.
Like, imagine if the Bengals lost Joe Mixon, right? They'd be a much different team offensively.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We've already seen like this year struggle offensively, but if they lost Joe Mixon, they'd be even worse. And that's how the Vikings are, right? The Vikings have a good passing attack, but a very bad running attack. Like,
and their defense,
they're one-dimensional team. The teams are not scared of them running the ball. When they had Dalvin Cook, the teams were afraid of that because they knew Dalvin Cook could pop off those long 40, 50-yard runs because he was shifty and he was big.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like...
And when he kicked into gear, he was fast as fuck, boy. Like, the thing is, and their defense is just so bad. Like, when I look at it like this, when I look at it through this lens, whose passing attack would I rather take? Vikings, obviously, all day. But, on a passing defense side, I think the Panthers could slow them down. Like, I could see that happening. And then the running attack, I think the Panthers eat that up. And the thing is, that's the big thing about this Panthers defense is their pass rush. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to have a comfortable pocket. They're going to need that running game to be good for them to even have a chance on winning this game. And, Madison averaging 50 yards per game is not going to get it done. It's just not. They're going to need to have like 120 yards rushing, and it's going to have to be an ugly win because this Panthers defense is that good. That's why the Falcons made the Panthers look like fools last week. It's because they were running it down their throat, like the thing is with the Panthers.
Vikings don't have that ability.
Yeah. When I said Falcons, I was talking week 1, by the way.
I knew what you were talking about.
Yeah, week 1, Falcons ran down their throat. They held up close against the Seahawks. And Geno's kind of looking like he's back in form from last season. Put up 37 points in 2 consecutive weeks. He's playing well. He's playing well. They lost to the Saints by 3 points. They lost to the Falcons by 14 points. So their biggest loss this season was when they were getting the ball ran down their throat. And that was a game where Algier was looking like a Pro Bowl caliber player, and Bijan was looking like he was Bijan. And we are finding out that he is Bijan. We were right to think that he was going to be everything.
He is the man the Falcons drafted at 10.
For sure. Exactly. And so I look at this game and I'm like, do I think the Vikings are better than 10 points than the Seahawks against the Panthers? I'm like, not really. I look at this game and I'm like, do I think that the Vikings are better than 3 points with the Saints? I'm like, possibly, but like also the Saints are low-key good too. And then like, do I think that the Vikings are better than 14 points against the Panthers? No. Compared to the Falcons, like, no. I think the Falcons are just a better team on offense. And their defensive play, like.
Yeah, and I think we'll see, kind of back to the Falcons, we'll definitely see as the season go on, I think we'll see Ritter get better.
Me too.
For sure.
Me too. Yeah. I think he's going to be a very good quarterback by the end of the year. And then, it's just one of those things. I think Panthers take it. Vikings fall down to an unfortunate 0-4, but I wouldn't be surprised if they find a way back in.
I just think the Vikings passing attack is too good and too much for the Panthers to overcome. Personally, I think they're going to score too much points, or I think they're really actually going to score just enough points. So on this game, I'd probably take the under. On this one, I think it's going to be like a close 21-17 type game in favor of the Vikings. I think they're going to figure out a way to pull off their first victory. But I don't think the yeah, that's it. I don't know what else I was going to say, but I just think the Vikings pulled off, personally.
I don't, but we'll agree to disagree here, my friend.
As always.
Let's talk about the game of the week.
I don't know if I'd call it that, but
The Denver Broncos, led by Russell Wilson. Let's ride, baby, against the Justin Fields-led Chicago Bears.
Oh
yeah. Yeah, we're talking about the game of the week, baby. What's the over-under on this?
It's a
46.
Game. It's a game. I don't know if I say it. It is a game to watch. Well, I don't know if I even say watch. It's football.
It is
NFL.
football.
In NFL, you know, so there's that. 0-3 teams. One of them's not going to be undefeated or winless anymore. So, I mean, there's that.
I mean,
I don't know who I take in this game.
They don't necessarily have to be winless at the end of it.
Okay, listen here. One of the teams are going to be winless. There's not going to be a tie.
I think this is going to be my first prediction for a tie this season.
Really?
16-16. They tie it. They stay neither team wins.
You know what? Okay, tangent. My bad. But I don't know why this made me think of the video I saw earlier. But this dude was talking about how his coworker has like a unique fantasy league that he runs for his job. And like this is where your teams are scoring hundreds of points, like 700 plus, right? And the kicker scored like 142 because he was kicking 50-yard bombs, and the 50-yard plus kicks are worth 10 points. So you saying 16-60 just made me think of like only field goal type shit. And anyway, like I said, tangent. But I would not. So you're saying you would not be surprised if the only points they score are through field goals,
like maybe a touchdown type thing, you know, like maybe a touchdown, maybe 17-17. You know,
I think the Broncos take it, but Bailey. I think it's gonna be like more like a 17-13 type of game.
I think if I had to pick a team to take it, it would be the Bears coming out. And I think the Bears have the potential to whoop on the Broncos because they're demoralized. That locker room is defeated. Like, the Bears...
after getting slapped by 50, yeah.
Well, did you see that interview with the offensive lineman?
I did not.
So, you know, let me see if I can pull this up. Anyways, go ahead and talk a little bit about why you think the Broncos are going to win a little bit more in depth.
Well, basically, I think they got the better receivers and the better quarterback. Essentially, right? Because I like Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy a lot more than I like Darnell Mooney and essentially Cole Kmet at this point. The Bears have the better rushing attack with Roschon Johnson and Tariq Cohen. Is that who it is? I forget who the other Bears running back is. But I like Denver's potential to score more points than I like the Bears' potential. I
agree with that.
I mean, especially when you have Justin Fields being your leading rusher, right? Like we saw last year how two-dimensional or how not two-dimensional. God damn it. How potent Justin Fields can be running and passing the ball. I don't see him continuing that all year long. I see the Broncos scoring just enough. I think their passing attack is good enough. Their defense is going to let up points, but against a much worse offense than the Dolphins, I don't see the Justin Fields led Bears scoring enough, or really scoring at all for that matter.
I think so. Here's my perspective. I got the video pulled up. I'll show you it in a second. I'll ask if your opinion changes afterwards. This is their starting left tackle, I believe. Left or right tackle, I believe. But with the Bears, I think this could be a potential game for them to have a coming out party. Like, I think it's either going to be the Bears have a coming out party, or it's a tie type situation, or they win by like 3 points. Like, it's going to be an ugly game, or like Justin Fields might get his shit right and actually just beat on the Broncos. And this video I'm showing right now is why. Let me know if you can hear it, right? Can you hear it?
It's paused. No, I can't hear it.
Okay, one sec. Let me just do this then.
Okay. But I just don't think Justin Fields has played well enough his first 3 weeks. to actually do anything. Because, I mean, Broncos might be the worst team, probably the worst team that they faced, but he hasn't really done a whole lot to show me that he can win close games. And I think this is going to be a close game.
All right. Check this out.
What's up?
So,
yeah, I'm tired of losing.
He's tired of losing.
Demoralized. I get it. But I think this is their bounce back game. This is their best chance to win so far.
Yeah. Yeah, but like when the locker room is like that, bro. And also there's reports of another player like anonymously saying that he wants to be traded from the Broncos. You know, Justin Simmons coming back, Jerry Jeudy coming back. You know, those are big players coming back. Frank Clark, of course. But, you know, also on the other side of the ball, Eddie Jackson might be coming back, and he's low-key one of my favorite safeties in the NFL. Great player. You know, he got burnt a couple times last year, so you didn't hear a lot about him in a positive light. But, you know, when he is playing good, he's elite. They got Jalen Jackson coming back for the Bears, you know, and it's just one of those things where, I don't know, man. I think the Bears can pull it out somehow. I can see a way.
I can see a way. I just don't think it's feasible. Right? I just don't think it. Well, okay, no, I think it's feasible. I just don't see it happening.
Probable. You don't see a probable thing. It's possible, but not probable. Is what you're thinking,
right? Yeah. Words hard.
I disagree.
Words hard.
I disagree only because of the demoralization in that locker room, and I don't know if that Broncos team has good enough leadership to turn that demoralization into a fire. I just don't. Like, their leadership is so poor. I don't know if they'll be able to pull that off. And
I mean,
that's just why.
I think this game is going to show a lot about the Broncos and what type of team they are. Right? Because they can bounce back from a certified ass kicking like they got in week 3 versus the Dolphins. Then
this is a must win for the Broncos.
I think that'll show a lot about them. Yeah, because they need to get this win and they need to get that confidence back. And I think they can if they win, especially in like an ass kicking. Right.
The thing is, like, this isn't a must win just for the Broncos to make the playoffs or have any chance to contend. This is a must win for like jobs. Jobs are on the line if this game is a loss. Those seats have to be scorching hot after losing 70-20 and being.
So you think Sean Payton could be out?
I think his seat gets
after
hot.
the season.
Yeah, like I don't think he'll get fired halfway through unless they don't win a game until week 10 or some shit. Like he might be out at that point. But like, you know, I seen a funny post. You know, Sean Payton needed Drew Brees and Bounty Gate to even win a Super Bowl. You know, so like, you know, this was supposed to be his renaissance, and Russell Wilson was supposed to be his guy. I think the Bears win if I picked a team to win, but I do bet on the tie. That is what I'll bet on.
I'll bet on the win slightly by the Broncos. I think it's going to be a close game, but ultimately I think the Broncos are going to. Yeah, I think we both are taking the under on this game. I don't think any team's going to score more than 21 points. Like I said earlier, I think it's going to be like a 21-17 type of game.
Yep.
Whoever can score the touchdown in the fourth quarter, I think will win. But I think that's going to be the Broncos. Just because I think they have the slightly better quarterback and 2 of the better receivers, being Sutton and Jeudy.
I do think Justin Fields has been getting an unfair shake. You know, like his best receiver on his receiving core is Darnell Moore. And who's behind him? Do you know who?
DJ Moore, yeah. Darnell Mooney?
Cole Kmet? Excuse me. Yeah, DJ Moore. Sorry. But outside of that, no, I believe it's Chase Claypool. Mapletron, baby. Yeah, trade that second round pick for him.
He hasn't been Mapletron in like 2 years.
It's Darnell Mooney and then Chase Claypool.
Okay.
So like we're talking about like Cole Kmet is his tight end. Like Justin Fields is missing passes, but also it's like Khalil Herbert, you know, like they're not setting up a run attack. Their offensive line leaves a lot to be desired on several positions. That's what I was thinking of earlier. You know, like they have 3 of their starting offensive linemen are injury reserved, and I think that the 3 best offensive linemen: Braxton Jones, Tavon Jenkins, which if you and I have talked in private about how high I am on Jenkins. If I haven't talked about it on the pod, he's one of my favorite guards in the NFL. And then they got Doug Kramer out, who's a very good center. And now they got the rookie Darnell Wright starting on the right end. I think this Bears team knows that they're banged up, and they say, we know that. We know we might not make the playoffs this year. Let's go ahead and get some wins along the way. I think that's the environment with the Bears. I think they just want to win some games, and I don't think that they're demoralized. The Broncos, I think, are at rock bottom. They are the mom that you just came home to from school at 4 p.m., and she has to tell you that she's getting a divorce with your dad and she's wine drunk. That's where the Broncos are at right now.
The Broncos are demoralized. I'll agree with that. They're
smashed flower pots and shit. You're scared. You don't know what you're supposed to be doing. That's where the Broncos are at right now. They're that little boy in that situation, or little girl.
Yeah, because this is a must-win.
Let's ride.
This is a must-win for them. After losing 2 close games with the Raiders and Commanders, and again their ass slapped by the Dolphins.
Next game.
Anyways, next game.
We're an hour, 7 minutes in, and we are not even halfway through the 1 p.m. games.
That's fine.
I'm cool with it. All right. So we have the Baltimore Ravens visiting the Cleveland Browns. What you thinking here, Austin?
Ravens easy.
Ravens easy. I agree.
What Watson has not lived up to his contract. He has not performed well, I think. He's
last week.
I don't care about last week. I said
Titans.
I said he was washed before the season even started. I think he's going to continue to perform decent to well, but not good or great, if that makes sense. I think he's going to continue to be just above average, enough to get the Browns some wins, but not take them to the playoffs.
Yeah, I think they're a fringe playoff team. I think they're a fringe playoff team, like probably 10th seed is where I'm thinking they're going to end up landing.
Mm-hmm.
Like 8th to 10th seed area. They're going to be in the conversation at the end of the season, but I think Ravens take care of business, and I think that this is a prove-it game for the Ravens.
I think the Ravens win this easy.
Yeah, I think this is a game where they go into Cleveland and they win. I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland won, though.
I think they have enough to win.
Yeah. My odds are 60-40 in Ravens' favor.
Okay.
So, because, Ron Lee Stanley might not be playing. Kyle Hamilton might not be playing. Linderbaum might not be playing. There's some big holes. And,
Yeah, and you have, for Cleveland, you have Greg Newsome, Kareem Hunt, Deshaun Watson, Joel Patino, Jerome Ford, all questionable as well.
Yep.
Which if Deshaun Watson doesn't play, I don't think they have really any chance.
100%.
But this is also the lowest over-under we've had, which is kind of surprising at 40.5. I thought it was gonna be freaking the Bears Broncos game, but
yeah. Take the over on this all day. This is an easy bet to win. Can both teams put up 21 points on each other?
I think they can, but I don't think. I'll agree with you. I'll take the over.
Because check it. Do you think the Browns and the Ravens can put up at least 21 points on each other, or one is whipping their ass so bad it compensates for the other one?
Yep, that's why I'm agreeing with you and taking the over.
28-14, 28-14. That's a scoreline that I could see happening. I think the Ravens do win this, and I think that this is a prove-it win for the Ravens. Because
so for the Brown side, I don't know if I'm starting Deshaun Watson unless I have to. If we're talking fantasy, real quick, and then Amari Cooper, I think is an easy lock-in start because he is Deshaun Watson's favorite target thus far.
Mm-hmm.
But that running attack with Jerome Ford / Kareem Hunt, I don't know if I'm touching yet or starting unless I have to.
I'm starting Kareem Hunt this week. I'm interested to see what happens. Yeah.
I mean,
I think there's a chance.
He is electric.
I think there's a chance.
I would definitely agree there is a chance.
Who would have thought Kareem Hunt would have went back to the Browns, though?
kind of funny to see it go for a circle after how long it's been. It's a little comical.
Yeah,
I must say. But then I'm excited to actually watch the Ravens because I love watching their running attack and their passing game, how it kind of fluctuates and works. And then I think they have a very good defense.
Zay Flowers is looking like he's the real deal.
Zay Flowers is looking electric.
Yeah.
21 receptions for almost 190 yards. Dude's balling out. Amari Cooper's balling out. Lamar Jackson's doing well. 2 TDs, 1 interception. Not passing as much as I'd like to see him, but he's efficient.
And for
he's
reference,
very efficient.
At this point right now, Nick Chubb is still the leading rusher for the Cleveland Browns, and he only played a game and a half. He only played half of their total field time, and he's still leading with 170 yards.
Yep. And quick note on Kareem, or not Kareem. Wow. Nick Chubb, with only the MCL tear, I'm happy and also surprised it's not worse.
Yeah,
because
me
that
too.
hit looked like it was going to be much worse than just an MCL tear. Right? That hit looked, at least the way the angles were, it looked like it could potentially be career ending. Yeah, exactly. So I'm very happy for him and the Browns, really, that it wasn't worse than it is.
Yeah. I don't want to play against the Browns next season as a Steelers fan because, like, Nick Chubb going to be back and he's going to be pissed. It's going to be a week 1 matchup. It's going to be fresh in his memory or some shit. I'm going to be like, no!
It's going to be the first game of this season.
yeah, like fresh on his fucking mind. He's been prepping all off season for this. He's got Minka's picture on the ceiling. He's like, I swear, fucker. I swear it wasn't a dirty hit. It wasn't a dirty hit.
Man, he's gonna fucking, if Nick Chubb's blocking, he's gonna throw Minka out of the stadium like fucking Rob Gronkowski did against the Colts.
Whoosh, 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 woo. Yeah, bro. Some Popeye shit. Yeah.
If this is the first game of the season, it's gonna be a matchup to watch, especially with Nick Chubb.
But they're gonna make it the week 1. But Cleveland Browns and Steelers is like a routinely week 1 game. Like every 2 or 3 years, it's always week 1. So
I am happy though that it wasn't worse for Nick Chubb.
Me
than
too.
just an MCL tear. 100%. But I expect the Ravens to win this game pretty easy. I don't think Watson has enough to do it. Personally, I don't see it happening.
I don't think so.
I like the Browns' offense as a whole. I think they got a solid offense. I don't think they have enough for. I lost my train of thought. God damn, my ADD is bad today, dude. I swear to God, bro.
Damn, bro, what? You think you were talking about the Browns and Ravens?
The Browns offense the Browns have a decent offense, right? Especially if they can get the running game working. But losing Nick Chubb is going to hurt, and it is severe because I don't think Jerome Ford is going to really be able to replicate or even be how Nick Chubb was.
I think Kareem Hunt has the potential to, and that's only because he's been in the offense for so long. We've seen him do it and lift the weight when Nick Chubb has missed a game or 2.
Right, but how much are they going to utilize him? I'm curious to see that. Is Deshaun Watson going to be able to play better? Is he going to be able to pass more effectively and be more calm in the pocket? Right, I think they have the weapons there, even losing Nick Chubb, to be a fringe playoff team. I still think they're the third. I still think they're going to finish third in that division, 3rd or 4th in that division. I believe I had them 4th preseason in the division. I still think they're going to finish that even more so now that they're losing Nick Chubb, because that is going to be a significant loss. It's going to be equivalent to the Vikings losing Dalvin Cook.
I think worse. I think worse. Because at least with the Vikings, they have Justin Jefferson.
True.
And they got tight end from the Lions.
TJ
Hawkinson. And then they got Kirk Cousins. So when you're looking at that compared to the Browns, it's like, would I rather have Kirk Cousins or Deshaun Watson? Well, I don't really like my tank being rubbed, so I guess I'm going Kirk Cousins. And then
Cleveland's saving grace is that they have Amari Cooper on offense. And brought back Kareem Hunt, which is smart of them. Right. Yeah. But they're lucky another team didn't pick up Kareem Hunt. Otherwise, I think they'd be in a much worse position than they already are.
Imagine the Steelers, right after Nick Chubb went down, they went and speed ran the signing for Kareem Hunt, bro.
That'd be kind of funny.
That would have been so toxic.
Would have been kind of funny. The way the Patriots immediately signed Will Greer from the practice squad.
Yeah.
Right? It would have been funny as shit.
That was so toxic, bro.
But it was funny. Toxic, but funny.
Imagine your player gets injured, and the team that injured your player, a rival in your division, goes and picks up the guy that just like for no good reason.
Just signs him.
Just signs him. Fuck it.
I would have loved it. I wish they would have done it, but I'm also surprised they didn't because the Steelers didn't need him.
Yeah.
But it would have been funny as shit if they did sign him.
Mad toxic. Speaking of the Steelers, and speaking of Deshaun Watson, last week Deshaun Watson got pressured 8 times by that Steelers rushing attack, sacked 4 of those times. Let's go and talk about that. What about the Steelers against the Texans? Oh, by the way, Ravens, Browns lock in. Well, I think we're both
Ravens,
locked in on Ravens.
Ravens.
Okay.
I'm going to take the over on that.
Yep.
I think it's going to go probably to about 50 points-ish, roughly.
Me too.
48 to 50 points. That is what I would expect them to score collectively. For the Steelers-Houston game, the way Houston played last week against the Jags, which I think is a better offense than the Steelers, I think Houston has a damn good shot at winning this game. And I would not be surprised if they do. I kind of almost want to lean that way and pick them.
That's fair. I think that this is a trap game for sure. Obviously, Steelers fan, I'm probably going to take the Steelers on this.
Steelers have much better defense. I'll give them that. Much better defense than the Jags. But I also think that the Steelers have a worse offense than the Jags. So I think it will be a relatively low-scoring game. But it's really going to come down to defense and who gets those turnovers.
So here's my thing, too, though. Like, the Texans played the Ravens. And they lost 9-25. And I think the Ravens defense is more comparable to the Steelers defense than the Jags.
I would agree.
And I think the Steelers defense might even be a little bit better than the Ravens defense. On preference, just like pass rush included. Like, you got Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt rushing off the edges, you're going to have a really good defense. And they got Minkah Fitzpatrick in the back there. They got, they got Neal on the line, who's been looking like a stud. They got Cole Holcomb from the Commanders, who is a Pro Bowl caliber player from the looks of things.
I think there's an argument to be made for sure.
Yeah, like, just looking at that whole roster, I'm like this defense is really good, and that's what pisses me off the most about the offense being bad. It's like this is a championship caliber defense. Like this defense is scary. They're not going to be like a top 5 team in yards, but they're going to be a top 5 team in like sacks and takeaways. And that's just what they've been cooking with all season. It's just like getting big sacks and tackles for a loss and takeaways. Yeah, you can go ahead and get 300 yards on us. That's fine, but we're not going to let you score. And that's what the Steelers defense has been like these good Steelers defenses for the last 20 years. Like they allow you to get 200, 300 yards passing, maybe 80 yards to 120 yards on the ground, but they keep it contained.
Right.
They don't let you get it through the line. And I think the Steelers take care of business in Houston. I really do.
So this is a game where, like the other games we've talked about, I kind of already knew who I thought would win and have a solid prediction who's going to win. This game, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm not really sure because if the
Texans play offense is bad,
if the Texans play like they played last week, especially on defense, I think they take care of business. I think it's going to be a struggle offensively for the Texans because they play a much better defense this week than they played last week. But C.J. Stroud has played phenomenal. And they both have equally bad running attacks, right? With Najee Harris and Dameon Pierce. Dameon Pierce has been able to do anything. Najee Harris hasn't been able to really do anything. So it's really going to come down to the quarterbacks, I think. It's going to be a Stroud versus Pickett matchup.
Yeah. So here's my thing too with the Steelers season so far. The Steelers have played the 49ers week 1. Then
the Browns and the Raiders.
Take on the Browns, and then the Raiders. And we're talking about all those teams have good defenses. I think this is the first team that the Steelers are playing against a not very good defense. Like, not a top 10 defense.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, this might be the game where the Steelers go ahead and just say, yup, we're going to rip off 350 yards passing, 100 yards on the ground, and dominate you and beat you by, like, 20 points. I could see that happening. Because I do think the Steelers have the talent on offense. They just, like, the question for me right now is Kenny Pickett a bust, or have they just been playing teams that are that good? Because he looked solid against the Raiders. He looked solid against the Browns. He looked abysmal against the 49ers, but solid isn't good enough in the NFL week in and week out. The Texans, this is his chance to catch that fire.
See, the reason why I really disagree is because the way the Texans played last week, right? That secondary was phenomenal. They were able to have a very solid, very good pass rush against a team that I think is better than the Steelers. I think the Jags are a much better offense than the Steelers. So I think the Texans have a very good chance. I might lean the Steelers' way just because of their defense being much better than the Texans, I think. But I think it's going to be a close matchup.
Well, like, they also lost 31-20 to the Colts.
I can't decide which team I want to go. That's the problem right now. like I could see both teams having a very real shot of winning. Look, I can't decide. I don't know if I can pick. Being honest.
This is your first tie of the season?
It might be. I would see this being more of a tie than the previous game we talked about with the Bears, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, here's the thing with the Texans, like, they let up 31 points to the Colts. They let up 25 points to the Ravens, and, like, you're kind of, like, looking at it, and, like, I guess the question is, was last week's performance
a fluke?
A fluke. Was it a little bit lucky? Because,
it
like,
might have been.
And, like, I think the Texans defense is good, but, like, they've looked like world breakers against the Jags. I agree. Like, they looked like they're there to just destroy the Jags.
Right, that secondary specifically played phenomenally. Missing the number one quarterback too, or the number one corner.
This is a game where I think if the Steelers trust Najee and give him the ball like 30 times, like give him 30 touches, they win the game. Like, it's just a no-brainer. But is Matt Canada smart enough to rub two brain cells and be like, I have big running back, let's run to ISOs instead of sweeps? Like, that's the question for me. Because that will make the game a lot closer than it should be. With that being said, I'm saying the Steelers take this win by 14 points. And I will take the over.
You know what? I'm gonna take the Texans.
Okay.
By 3.
Okay.
But I'm gonna take the under. I'm gonna take the under with the Texans winning. I mean, the line's at 42.5.
Yeah.
I don't think either team's going to score really a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 17-14 type of game.
Yeah, I'm thinking the score is going to be like 35-21 type thing.
Better man than me. God damn.
That's what I'm kind of thinking.
All right.
Well, here's the reason I think that the score is going to be so high. I think that there's going to be turnovers, and lots of them. I think this is going to be the toughest defense CJ Stroud's facing this season. Because
easy.
The Steelers, last week, their defense was dominant. And against the Browns, it was dominant. Like, we're talking about, like, the Steelers' defense against the Browns put up 14 points. And then last week, they had 3 turnovers and 4 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's not sleep on that.
I don't know. I don't think there's going to be a lot of turnovers, but I think the Steelers are going to go a lot of 3 and outs. Are going to force a lot of 3 and outs, I should say, to clarify. I don't think there's going to be a lot of turnovers, but a lot of 3 and outs for sure. And I think that's where the Steelers could really win the day.
Yeah. Like, I think there's going to be like 3 turnovers on both sides of the ball. I think the team that wins the turnover battle will win the game, but I think the Steelers will be on that side. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had all 3 turnovers. Knocking on wood. Like,
I could see it.
I just said that shit out loud, and
I could see it. I just don't expect it.
Yeah.
But I still pick the Texans. I think they got enough firepower and enough to win on offense to do it. But I'm also just riding the CJ Stroud hype train at the moment, so that
That's
could be
fair.
it as well.
That's
That could
fair.
be it as well.
I think this is a game where like Najee or Kenny Pickett. Like I think as I'm thinking about it more, I think Kenny's already going to have an okay game. But I think Najee could have like a coming out performance. Like his true like okay, he's the real deal type thing. Like this might be a game where Najee goes ahead and rips off like 120, 130 yards. Like cuz this should be the softest defense he's rushed against. So like it's not like Najee looks bad. It's just like he doesn't get the holes. And when he does get the holes, it's like he commits on the wrong side sometimes. You see that from every running back. But it's like with Najee, it's like he hits the open hole, but like the guard isn't getting up on double blocks to go ahead and catch that middle linebacker. You know, that Mike's getting him and he's only getting 2 or 3 yards here and there. You know, but like in times where he does get in space and he does get through the line and he's getting in that second level, he's getting like 10, 15 yards to carry. If he gets 4 yards, it's going to become a 15-yard rush. So like that's the thing with Najee.
Okay, then as a Steelers fan, at what point would you call Pickett a bust?
Pretty fucking soon if he doesn't get shit turned around.
Okay, so like kind of like halfway through the season ish type of thing.
Like if the Steelers are winning, it's going to be hard to call him a bust.
Yeah, I agree.
But like based on his performance this far, let's say that he's playing let's say the Steelers are on the same exact trajectory at midpoint of the season. Like they're like, you know, fucking what, 6-2 ish. You know, let's say they beat the Texans and they're around 6-2 around the halfway point. And Kenny Pickett at that point ends up having like 2,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Like it's like, okay, like that's mediocre. And I wouldn't call him a bust yet because he is only in his second year and it's his first year starting the whole season. And I think Kenny Pickett will get better as the season goes on. I do. But Matt Canada might need to go sooner than later. Because like, do you watch Steelers games ever or no?
Occasionally, but I didn't watch last week's.
It's bad. It's bad. Like, we're talking about, like, he calls jet sweeps on third down, like 3rd and 2, all the time. Dude, he called for Kenny Pickett to have an option run where it was a quarterback preference.
Right.
And on 3rd and 3, instead of just a QB sneak or an ISO run.
That's good.
Like, it's bad. The play calling is bad in Pittsburgh. And that's half the reason why their offense looks so abysmal.
Okay. So you'd be more on the fire him than Kenny Pickett a bust type of thing.
Yeah, because, like, here's the thing with Kenny, too. Like, he has flashes of his talent. And honestly, like, the first 2 weeks specifically, he's throwing balls behind receivers. He didn't look great. But against the Raiders, he's a lot more on target. And he looked a lot better. You know, so, like, it's kind of becoming one of those things where, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he has, like, a 400-yard passing game or Najee Harris has, like, a 200-yard scrimmage game. Like, I think that's this type of game for the Steelers. And if they don't pull that off, I think Matt Canada's seat gets extremely hot because it will be on the offense's burden.
Gets a little lava type. I could see that.
Well, you know, you beat your division rival at home, and while you're going off the field, there's a chant, "Fire Canada!"
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
After you win?
I remember seeing that.
Abysmal. And then Canada comes back and he's like, "I'm not worried about it. We're going to have a good offense." Where is it? Because, like, as a Steelers fan, let me explain this a little further. So, the thing was, Canada didn't get to run his offense when Ben Roethlisberger was the quarterback. So that was why Matt Canada sucked back then. Was because Ben Roethlisberger, the Hall of Fame quarterback, wasn't the quarterback he wanted in his fucking process.
Yep.
So they get Kenny Pickett. Well, Kenny Pickett was a rookie last year, so it doesn't count because he was a rookie. Even though Mitch Trubisky looked horrible when he was starting as well. And then, you know, this season, it's like, okay, now what's the excuse? You got your quarterback. He developed for a year. The Hall of Fame guy wasn't good enough for you. What about this guy?
Maybe, apparently not good enough either.
Yeah, like,
but I guess we'll see.
At what point do you say this is done? This is just not going to work. It doesn't look like Steelers football either. And you know what I mean when I say Steelers football. Smash mouth, grind it down your fucking throat, go ahead and run it down the gut, and get play action passes that get the quarterback 300 yards a game.
Mm-hmm.
That's Steelers football. And it's not looking like it. But the defense is. This is looking like an all-time great defense. Like, their stats aren't reflecting it because of yardage, but when you're watching this defense play, they're on the field a lot.
And Steelers always have a good defense, though. I mean, like, they always have a really solid defense with a pretty good offense, right? Enough to score them enough points to win. Yeah. And then a good enough defense to great defense to slow them down and get those 3 and outs to go seal the game. That's Steelers football.
Yeah.
I could see him getting fired potentially at the end of the season if they underperform, if they don't at least go 500. I think it's very hard for Mike Tomlin not to let him go and find someone else.
Yeah, especially if the Steelers go under 500, I don't think Canada makes it through the season. Like, if they get 9 losses, I think that's when Canada's done.
I could see it.
Because it's like, who else are you going to blame in the organization? And also, I don't like the offensive coordinator being like, yeah, that QB ain't my guy. You know, oh, well, it's a bad look. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I don't have the perfect pieces, so my offense doesn't work. That's not how it fucking works. Look at the West Coast offense. Like, why the fuck the West Coast used as like a primary offensive? It's considered base set now. Route running is considered like standard based off the West Coast offense now. And why can every offense run that scheme, but no offense can run your fucking scheme, Canada? Go back and fucking suck some fucking syrup out of a tree or something, whatever you fucking Canadians do.
Yeah, I mean, Canada probably makes it through the season. I wouldn't be surprised, but I think if they expect you to go under 500, like you said, he doesn't last
Steelers
past
don't
the
fire
last game of the
coaches.
season.
Past Steelers the last game of the season, coaches, but yeah.
Like, he'll probably be gone.
I think
when the season's done, potentially.
I think as soon as the Steelers go under 500, if they do, that's when they should axe him. But the Steelers won't. They just won't.
They typically don't.
Matt Canada will end up quitting in the offseason either way, I think, at this point.
Well,
unless there's a big
resignation.
A little resignation. Yeah, a little parting of ways. Anyways.
Yeah, I could see that.
Enough about Steelers football. Rams, Colts. What are we thinking here?
I like the Rams in this game.
Me too.
I like what I've seen from Matt Stafford so far. He's 2 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, so not great in that area, but I think that offense is doing pretty good, and they're going to be getting Cooper Kupp back here pretty soon.
A lot of those interceptions are kind of like interceptions when you're watching them, and they're scoring on a lot of drives too, though.
Yeah, exactly. Kyron Williams is looking fantastic. Zach Moss is looking pretty good for the Colts.
Yeah, Nakua is looking like a stud, by the way, for the Rams. I wanted to circle back there.
Yeah, he is. And Michael Pittman's looking pretty good for the Colts.
Yeah.
It's like, I would like to say the Colts, but I think it's really going to be the Rams. And currently the over-under on this game is 47, which is the highest we've seen so far.
Yeah.
Tonight. And
I take the over on it.
Really?
Yeah. I think this is going to be a shootout.
Damn.
I think this might be one that, if I were to actually pick a 1:00 game of the week, this is probably it.
I think it's been good because Anthony Richardson is still questionable too as well. But even if he sits, I still like their chances with Gardner Minshew because he still played very well last week.
Yeah, this is my 1:00 game of the week. Like, early day, if you want to watch a game and you don't care who wins, like, I think the Rams and Colts will be the most fun. That's the one that I would be tuning into if the Steelers were not. I'll probably still have it on.
But... I will for sure. I would like this. You know what? I'll agree. Game of the week for me for 1 o'clock. For 1 o'clock. Yeah, I'll agree with that. I'll agree with you there. Rams, I think, take it easy, though.
I think the Rams go ahead and win by like 10 points.
I think it's going to be, I'll take the over. I think it's going to be like a 35-28 type of game.
Mm-hmm.
I like kind of like the Colts' chances more if Minshew plays.
Me too.
I think Anthony Richardson's a very good quarterback. I think he's a great talent. I've always been a fan of rookie quarterbacks sitting most of their first year, if not the whole year. I think that does them a lot of benefit.
It does. Look at Jordan Love.
But Richardson playing does add a different dimension to that Colts offense.
I think Gardner will be better against specifically the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gives AR-15 or AR-5 a chance to go ahead and recover fully. It gives... And Gardner Minshew is playing against a defense that you kind of want to be a veteran against. You know, this defense is low-key really good. You know, like... And they run zone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a rookie could get caught up in that, and it's a scary matchup for Anthony Richardson to come back into. Quietly, a very good defense the Rams are. You know, you haven't heard a lot about Donald this season, but you know,
very little.
He's still there. You know,
hard to miss him. Hard to miss.
It's hard to miss. You haven't heard a lot about him this season, but you know, I think a big reason with that is because you know, the last 5 seasons, Aaron Donald's been the only topic of discussion, and the Rams haven't been good in like a year. So it's like, you know, but you know, like you look at this defense, and it's like, you know, they got Byron Young, you know, they got Aaron Donald, you know, they got Darion Kendrick coming into his own, you know, like he was playing pretty well. You know, they got Roseboom, who like has been solid. You know, like you just got like a team that's actually like starting to kind of come together. Bobby Brown, very good nose tackle that's quietly like doing work down there, you know.
Quietly doing something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So like I do think the Rams defense does get the job done. And I'm excited about Nakua. And like something else is like, you know, is Cooper Kupp confirmed out for the year? I know he's an IR.
I don't think so.
They're saying he'll be back on week 5. So next week against the Eagles.
That's what they're thinking. Yeah, because he was on IR right now, but they're thinking he can be back next week.
You want to talk about an explosive offense? Nakua and Kupp? That's going to be tough to deal with, ain't it?
That'd be fun to watch, especially with Kyren Williams doing what he's been doing.
Yeah,
he's been having a pretty good year. Tutu Atwell's been very good too as well, especially in fantasy.
Yeah.
Right? So this week specifically, I'm starting Nakua, Kyren, Tutu, and Stafford probably from the Rams. And then the Colts, probably Zach Moss, Michael Pittman, and then depending on what quarterback starts, I'll start them. But Richardson is just nice because of his rushing upside as well. He's a pretty good passer. Doesn't have great deep accuracy, but he can throw deep. He has a very good arm. And he can also run really well too as well. But it's looking like Anthony Richardson will play since he was a full participant today at least. So I'll probably start Richardson as well.
Yeah, I was looking at picking up Minshew on the wire, but I decided not to because it seems like Richardson will be playing. But there's a chance that they just go ahead and ride on Minshew because he was hot last week. He had damn near 400 yards.
Yeah. Makes me wish I would have picked up Joshua Dobbs and played him instead of fucking Ritter, because I would have won if I played Dobbs.
Yeah.
But you know what? That's neither here nor there. So
on to the next 1 o'clock game. We got Tampa Bay visiting the Big Lou, New Orleans Saints.
Big Lou, I don't like that. Nolans. I think this game is really going to hinge on whether Derek Carr plays or not.
Yeah, me too. I think if Derek Carr plays, it's just an ass whooping. And honestly, you know what? I'll take Saints even if he doesn't play.
I won't. I'll take the Bucks if Derek Carr doesn't play. Because he didn't practice today, and he's still questionable. So we'll have to see how he does tomorrow. Yeah, no. Ugh. Yeah. Damn, I can't talk right now. We'll have to see how he does for Friday, right? Friday's practice.
Yeah. This is a game we're probably going to come back to a little bit more on Friday as more injury updates come along, because this is a very injury contingent game.
I just think the Bucks win, but still, but if their Carr plays, then I like the Saints in the game. It's really going to hinge on Derek Carr for me. Honestly,
yeah, I just think the Saints will take care of business. I think they're just.
I think they're good enough personally.
I think they're good enough without Carr to beat the Bucks, specifically the Bucks.
Agree to disagree, but that's all right.
On to the next.
I just didn't like how the Saints played with Jameis last week, right?
Yeah.
As soon as Derek Carr went down, that offense was deflated, and I don't like it. And if it continues to be like that, without Derek Carr, I don't like their chances. I don't know if they can really beat anyone.
But Tampa isn't necessarily like an offensive team either.
No, but they have the weapons to score quick, right? With Godwin and Evans, and then Rashad White being a very good rushing attack, and also a very good defense, very good a very good defense that can slow down that team, especially with someone like Jameis at quarterback. And then another thing with the Saints, it pisses me off when they have Taysom Hill in there because it's like, okay, cool, you're going to run the ball with Taysom Hill. Congrats, you fooled us, right?
Hey, he's got 91 yards on 16 attempts. That ain't bad.
It's not bad, but it's not fooling anyone.
Hey, obviously is. That's a good ratio.
Nah, fuck that.
What is that?
Anyways, that's my own little tidbit to say about that part. Anyways, on to the next.
5.68 yards per carry. It looks like he's fooling someone. Hey, man, I'm just saying.
He probably got the bulk of that in one game.
Maybe.
That's all. I just wish with Taysom Hill they would add some variety, like pass a little bit, you know, a few times or whatever, to add a little bit of potential confusion instead of just running every time you have Taysom Hill out there, because that's what they've been doing the whole year. They haven't passed, I don't think, at all with Taysom Hill.
I'll double check.
I would just like to see them add some variety, like they did last year.
He's passed twice this year.
He might have.
I might be
at least the drives I watched for the Saints that they didn't pass at all with Hill. But I could be wrong.
He has one attempt this year for 8 yards. Going off.
Hell yeah.
Remember when he started quarterback for like 5 games?
He's a perfect 100%.
Yep. Yes, sir.
It's
weird that he's still seeing field, even though like he's like the backup quarterback too. Like, it's so strange seeing such a like dynamic player. But speaking of dynamic players,
it was fun. On a quick little tidbit before we go to the next game, it was fun in my work league last year when in ESPN when they had Taysom Hill listed as a quarterback, wide receiver, and tight end.
Yeah.
And I needed a tight end for this one specific week, and I could just plug in Taysom Hill. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
That was pretty cool. Anyways, on to the next, like you said.
Speaking of dynamic players, Terry McLaurin for the Commanders, looking like a world breaker. Just like this season, just looking really solid, catching anything that comes into his radius. The big question with the Commanders is Sam Howell going to be able to get him the ball? And is Sam Howell going to be able to do anything against this Eagles defense?
I think the Eagles win easily. I think Sam Howell's going to have a probably bad game.
Probably, yeah.
I think it's most likely going to be a bad game. I don't see a whole lot from anyone on the Commanders' offense. Probably staying away from them this week, if I'm being honest.
Do you start DeAndre Swift this week?
Yes. Yes, I would. He's been getting hella work. 45 carries for 308 yards. Because I mean, we saw him week 1. They didn't really get any playing time. Really, well, he got some playing time, but he didn't really get a lot of touches or carries, anything like that. And then week 2 and 3, he exploded.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I would continue riding the hot wave until they prove me wrong. Because,
And
but the
like Jalen
Washington,
Hurts has 6
mm-hmm.
touchdowns on the year.
Yeah, 3 TDs, 3 interceptions, and then 3 rushing. Jalen Hurts has been pretty good, not fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think you're starting him anyways because that rushing upside is so potent.
Yep. He's averaging 2 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
Like when you're averaging 200, like essentially he's averaging like 270 yards per game, 2 touchdowns per game, and a pick. That's what he's averaging right now. So like
I'm taking that. I'm taking that every day.
Yeah, like because you're looking at what, like 30 points. If you get 30 points out of your quarterback consistently, that's a good starter.
Shoot, I'll take 20 points.
Yeah. So
I think I don't think this is going to be. I don't think this is going to be a close game by any means. I think it's going to be probably a blowout.
I think the Commanders will make it closer than it needs to be. I think it'll be about a 14-point game.
With the way they I don't know. Because this is going to be by far the best team that played all week or all year.
Yep.
For sure. And the Bills, I think, are a worse team than the Eagles. I don't like the Commanders. The Commanders in this game. I don't think it's going to be a relatively close game. I think it's probably going to be like a 21-point blowout.
I could see it. I just have faith in the Commanders to bounce back.
Not against the Eagles, for me.
It's tough against the Eagles. But it is a divisional game. That's kind of where I'm thinking too. So like because it's a divisional matchup, I think it's a little bit closer than we'd like to think.
That's fair. I'll take that.
And let's slide into the last 1:00 game. Bengals, Titans.
Bengals. Who dey?
Who dey, huh?
Who dey? Yeah. They bounced back last week. They did enough to get the win. I mean, last year we saw them start 0-2 pretty slow.
Yeah.
And then we kind of saw them start to bounce back, saw Joe Burrow to start to pick it up last week. I think he's going to continue that trend. I don't think this is really going to be a relatively hard game for the Bengals to win. The Titans have a pretty shit offense. If I'm being honest, they look pretty lackluster. They really got only really Derrick Henry.
And he's not even looking that great. They got Hopkins now, but that offensive line is just so bad right now. It's like bad.
Looking like Swiss cheese out there.
Yeah, like honestly, like I compared Najee to Derrick Henry coming out of college a lot. They're both guys that like if they get time behind the line, they get to go ahead and shift into their 6th gear, and then they're like an unstoppable train. But like Derrick Henry has similar stats to how Najee Harris is looking this season, and Najee is actually looking a little bit better statistically. That's what that offensive line and the offensive scheme does for someone. And circling back to the Steelers, that's why that's such a big deal. And back to the Titans now, we're seeing that with this game as well.
Yeah, Derrick Henry's only got 163 yards on 51 carries so far. So he's not looking hot. I think this is going to be. I think last week was a must-win for the Bengals, but I think this is going to be kind of like a bounce-back week again to kind of further improve on last week. I think T. Higgins, Burrow, and Chase are kind of must-starts. I think they're going to do well in this game. I see the Bengals putting up like 35 points this week. I would not be surprised.
I think so too. And I think the Titans put up a touchdown, maybe 10 points.
I see him put about like 13. A couple field goals and a touchdown.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think the Bengals whip their ass.
Yep. I think Ryan Tannehill kind of continues to show that he's washed, kind of like a washed up quarterback a little bit because he's already not doing great on the year. He has a touchdown pass, the 3 interceptions. I think that trend continues. Probably throws a couple picks with maybe a touchdown. If it's not a rushing touchdown.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a very exciting game. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be lopsided. Not near as bad as the Dolphins versus Broncos, right?
Yeah.
Probably not, because you're really ever gonna see that happen. But it is gonna be lopsided.
Do you take the over under 41?
Well, because I already thought that the Bengals would score 35, I'm gonna take the over. Kind of stick with it.
I'm taking the over too, but that's mostly because the Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are gonna score enough to put it convincingly over. Like I said, I think it's gonna be like a 35-13 type of game, where the Titans will be lucky to score a touchdown.
Yep.
But it's not gonna be a very interesting game to watch for sure.
I don't think so either. That leads us off into Las Vegas versus Los Angeles.
All right, I'll be right back. 1 second. You keep talking.
All right. Raiders are visiting the Chargers, both 1-2 coming into the week. We have the Chargers ranking number 2 in offense, number 3 in passing offense, number 13 in rushing offense. They are ranked 31st defensively compared to the Raiders, who are coming off a loss last week with the 24th ranked offense, 18th ranked defense, 14th ranked passing attack, and 32nd ranked rushing attack. Looking into this game, personally, I think Jimmy Garoppolo is not looking great. Steelers really did kind of fucking put his dick in the dirt, and I think the Chargers don't have a good enough defense to emulate that. But I do think the Chargers' offense is good enough to keep on outscoring the Raiders' offense. And I don't think the Raiders' defense is good enough to go ahead and stop, Justin Herbert and company. Keenan Allen's having a career season again. It seems like every year he's having a damn career year. Mike Williams, he's looking like a stud. 19 catches, 249 yards, and a touchdown. You got Kelly, who's been coming into the role just fine after the injury to Eckler. You got Josh Jacobs on the other side of the ball. You got, this should be a fun game to watch. I think it's going to be a little bit closer than people are anticipating, and plus it's a divisional matchup, so this has some playoff implications down the line. So looking into this game, I do think the Chargers win it, but I think it's closer than it needs to be. I think it's going to be Chargers 35, Raiders 24. 24. I think the Chargers beat them by 11. So, with that being said, fantasy starts for the week. I would sit Garoppolo, start Jacobs. Jacobs has to have a break at some point, and against one of the worst defenses in the NFL, why not? Devontae Adams, I think he's just an auto lock on the start. I could see starting Jacoby Myers in a flex. Justin Herbert's a lock in the start. What?
Who'd you say is an auto lock?
Justin Herbert and Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
I think Josh Jacobs is going to be an auto lock this week because the Chargers defense is just that bad. Kelly, I want to start. Allen, obviously an auto lock. Mike Williams, honestly a lock at this point in the flex position. If you got Mike Williams, just keep starting him at wide receiver 2 or flex. He's a really good one.
I thought Mike Williams went down for the season.
What?
Let me double check.
No way.
Let me double check.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah. Tore his ACL. Versus the Vikings.
Last week?
Yep.
I didn't hear about that. Damn. And he wasn't showing up.
I guess you could start Mike Williams if you want to.
Yeah, you
just
could.
Expect 0 points.
He wasn't showing up on the injury report. Oh, that sucks. It makes me sad.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. But yeah, Mike Williams is kind of sad because he has had some a little bit of injury troubles, but man, is that dude fun to watch. So with Mike Williams being out for the year, though, how much faith are you putting in Quentin Johnson on the Chargers?
A lot more now. I am still processing that because I forgot that he went down. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was looking at the injury report and I'm like, yeah, okay. I was like, something looks weird. But I couldn't put my finger on it.
Oh, no, you're good.
I think Joshua Palmer is going to be getting. I think Joshua Palmer is the start over Quentin Johnson.
Okay.
I think
like the rest, for like just this game, and then kind of like wait and see with Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, I think at least the next 3 weeks.
Okay. I could see
3 or 4 weeks. And the Chargers defense is crazy because it's they got Joey Bosa, they got Eric Kendricks, they got Khalil Mack, they got Derwin James, and they're all injured. Well, Khalil Mack isn't, but
Yep.
And they also got J.C. Jackson on the team still. They got Asante Samuel, they got Michael Davis. Yeah. Like the defense is good. There's a lot of talent, so I don't know what the hell's going on their defense, but need to get that straightened out. And I think this could be a proving game for the Chargers. I think if they beat the Raiders in any fashion, it's a win because it's a divisional matchup. Like it's a big win. So this is a must win.
Have especially a better chance, especially if Austin Eckler plays.
Yeah.
Right.
If Eckler's back, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Because Joey Bosa and Derwin James both might not play since they didn't practice today.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see. But I don't think the Raiders are. Jimmy Garoppolo has been kind of weird this year, but it's kind of expected. He's kind of continuing the same football we've seen from him in the past, especially on the 49ers, just minus the turnovers. He's definitely forcing the ball a lot more than he did with the 49ers.
100%.
But it is because the Raiders offense is a lot different than the 49ers, right? The 49ers are very much more run heavy, run first type offense. The Raiders are not.
And when you got Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers as your wide receivers,
kind of argue.
Yeah. But
kind of not hard to throw it.
Yeah, I take Chargers 11 plus. The over-under on this game, by the way, is going to be...
I think the Chargers, too.
Yeah.
I would be so surprised if the Raiders win. 48 and a half is apparently the over-under.
I'm taking the under, but I think... Well, maybe I don't. No,
I think the Raiders score probably at least 21.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I think the Raiders score probably like 35.
Or the Chargers?
Yeah, Chargers, sorry. Score like 35.
You're good.
So I'd probably take the over on that one.
Yeah. I'm kind of on the over side, too.
But I think I think the Chargers win by at least 10, though.
Going into our next game, it's your game, your team.
It's so sad.
You're not confident?
But the way the Cowboys played last week, it makes me a little more confident. So the Patriots defense has been very, very good through the first 3 weeks. It has been good at containing elite offenses with the Dolphins and the Eagles. Mm-hmm. But that offense looks horrendous. Especially with Bill O'Booble or Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people know him by.
Bill O'Booble.
Bill O'Booble. That's what
the infamous Houston Texans head coach
/ GM that traded Hopkins for pennies. Yeah, that guy. So the thing I like about Bill O'Brien so far this year is he's opened up that play calling on offense way more this year. It looks a lot more fluid. It's playing to Mac Jones' strengths a lot more. Mm-hmm. Right? So their offense is good, but they're not scoring a lot of points. But their defense is keeping them in those close games.
Yeah, they're keeping them alive.
They're keeping them alive and keeping them within 7 to 10 points late, which we've seen the Patriots go down and drive in those late games, but they can't close out those close games. So I think that Cowboys are not going to score a lot of points, just what I've seen from the Patriots defense, but I think the Cowboys still win. But I think it's going to be like a 3 to 7 point win for the Cowboys.
I think the Patriots take it in the reverse faction.
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah.
Here's my reasoning. I can go ahead and get into this a little bit more. The New England Patriots are 1-2, but they are coming off some fucking tough games. The Cowboys just lost to the fucking Cardinals.
With Joshua Dobbs.
Yeah. We're talking about, a Cowboys team that's very good, but they shut out the Giants. They whooped on the Zach Wilson-led Jets, and then they lost to the Cardinals.
So 2 unimpressive wins in my book, right? Not impressive, not really that good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they didn't lose by a lot, but they lost to a team.
They lost by 12. They lost by 2 possessions.
Okay, at least. So I was thinking 7 points.
No,
so I didn't think it was 12. Okay, But still, if they're going to lose or win against anybody, it should have been against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Right. But the Cardinals have proved to be a much tougher opponent than they seem. And, but I could see the Patriots winning. I just don't think they have enough offensive firepower to win. As the Patriots fan, I think their defense is going to keep them in it, but I think they're going to lose down the stretch in the fourth quarter in the final 3 minutes. Like
I
they
just
have the
don't think the
past 2
Cowboys are
weeks.
prepared for a team like the Patriots. And I think the Patriots are quietly one of the best teams in the NFL. Because they're 1-2, it's looked as they're not that great. But when you're 1-2 in your first 3 games were the Eagles, the Dolphins, and then the Jets, and you beat the Jets, sure, but you keep the game within a touchdown against the Eagles and the Dolphins just put up 70 points on the Broncos.
Mm-hmm. I
They
think
kept
the
that
Patriots
game
have
within one score.
I think the Patriots have the best defense in the AFC East for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's really particularly close, but they definitely don't have. They probably have like the third best offense, right? Because I think the Dolphins and the Bills are both better.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots score probably 21 points on the Cowboys, but I think the Patriots put up, or the Cowboys put up just enough points. I think it's probably going to be like 24 or 21. Is kind of my prediction if I see this game going.
I'm kind of seeing 17-14 Patriots.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. And I think this is going to be the best defense the Cowboys have played.
Mm-hmm.
And the Patriots are probably going to play a lot of 2 deep, 3 deep zone type coverage with man blitzes, but having 3 deeps like they did against the Cowboys.
The over-under,
like they did against the Dolphins.
The over-under is 43, and it has Cowboys by 6.5.
Yeah. I understand that, why the line is the way it is, but I'm going to take the under all day.
Me too.
For sure, because I don't think any team's going to score 21 or more than 21 for that matter.
I think this is a low-scoring boxing match. I think this is going to be more of a chess game than a checkers game.
Mm-hmm. I think the Cowboys have the better offense, but the Patriots have the better defense. Patriots have the better run game than the Cowboys, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Cowboys got Tony Pollard, but then the Patriots have Stevenson and Zeke, which I think is a better combo than the Cowboys have. So it's going to be an interesting game. I think it's going to be a good, low-scoring boxing match, like you said.
Yeah. We move into the Cardinals visiting the San Francisco 49ers.
Man.
What a Cinderella story it would be if the Cardinals managed.
What if the Cardinals made the playoffs? That'd be wild.
Is this a real discussion we're actually going to entertain right now? Because I'm interested in having it.
Joshua Dobbs has played pretty damn good so far.
Yeah.
Right? There's a very real possibility where Kyler Murray does not start if Joshua Dobbs keeps playing like he has. Because if he does, how do you justify starting Kyler? Only because of the money you've paid him, right?
Yeah.
I think it's very, very, very real possibility that the Cardinals finish 10-6, maybe 9-7 type of thing, make the last seed as a wild card. And I think we see Joshua Dobbs potentially as that quarterback that takes him there.
You think Joshua Dobbs is that good, huh?
Possibly, from what we've seen the first 3 weeks of the season, right? It's still early. There's still a lot of unknowns.
I like Joshua Dobbs. He was on the Steelers.
From what I've seen, though, thus far, I would not be surprised, especially if he keeps playing the way he has played.
Yeah, well, Joshua Dobbs was the first victim of the Roethlisberger retirement experiment, I believe. It was either him or Mason Rudolph. And because Ben was planning on retiring in a season after he got drafted, so they drafted Joshua Dobbs in the 4th round to go ahead and start getting developed. Well, it just never worked out like that, and then they ended up getting Kenny Pickett, and then the rest was history, and they let Dobbs walk because they got Mitch Trubisky in the free agency, and Mason Rudolph on the roster already. So it's one of those things where I always wanted Joshua Dobbs to succeed. He's a very intelligent guy. He's a very good guy, from interviews that I've seen. I'm excited for him to get the starting opportunity. And if he somehow, obviously, we're going to pick the 49ers. I don't think that's a question.
No,
so that's why we
49ers,
just
but I think Cardinals are going to put up a sneaky good fight.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think it's going to be a blowout.
Over under 44?
I'll take the over.
I will too.
I love Brock Purdy and what he's done. He hasn't turned the ball over. 49ers, I love their run game, but the Cardinals have also a very good run game as well with James Conner and Joshua Dobbs mixing in there. But I think it's going to be 49ers easy, but I think it's going to be like a 10-point game.
So they're saying the line is 14 for San Francisco.
I don't necessarily think it's going to be that because, I mean, the Cardinals have already overperformed in my book.
They got one win.
Yeah. I didn't think they were going to get any wins, to be honest.
If there was a way that Joshua Dobbs pulls off the upset against the 49ers, I think then we can actually have that discussion about the Cardinals possibly making the playoffs.
I don't know, because they've already had 2 close games, week 1 and 2, and then they whooped on the Cowboys, won by 12. I think, and then they got 2 tough games, 49ers, Bengals. Well, actually, really, 5 49ers, Bengals. As I was looking at the schedule, I was like, oh, 2. Wait, that was like 3. Wait, that was like 4. Wait, shit, 5.
Yeah.
Being the 49ers, Bengals, Rams, Seahawks, Ravens. Right? So they got a tough stretch of games. And they got the Steelers later. Yeah. So I think if they get 2 to 3 wins out of the next 6 weeks, I think they're in conversation. And I think if they get those 2 to 3 wins, they're not starting Kyler Murray.
Yeah, I agree.
At least I would hope not, especially depending on how Joshua Dobbs is playing at that time.
I kind of feel like Arizona is kind of done with Murray, though. Like, it seems like they gave him that contract not necessarily because they wanted to keep Murray, but because they wanted to keep a starting caliber quarterback.
And Kyler is good, but I don't know. Joshua Dobbs has been playing pretty good, and his stats don't necessarily, to me, at least show how well he's been playing unless you've watched the games, because he's been making really good decisions. He's been looking really comfortable in the pocket and making good, accurate throws.
Game manager.
Right, so he's been a very good game manager. He hasn't turned the ball over, hasn't thrown an interception yet. Granted, he only has 2 touchdown passes on the year, so you're not really starting the
72% completion.
Right. So you're not necessarily starting the wide receivers in fantasy. You could probably flex them if you need to, but you're not relying on a lot of points, right? They'll probably get you 10 to 12 points as a wide receiver, which is good for your flex spot. But you're also not expecting the Cardinals to win either, or to put up a lot of points against this San Fran defense.
Yeah. San Francisco's defense is scary. Definitely the favorites for the Super Bowl in my book.
100%, because they're favored by... Okay, so according to ESPN, they have an 87% chance of winning.
The Super Bowl?
No, the game against the Cardinals. So it's like, you're not expecting the Cardinals to win, but if they do, it's kind of fun, entertaining, and funny if they somehow win. But
I think if the Cardinals even keep this game within like a touchdown, then this conversation starts to happen of, are the Cardinals actually a good team?
Yeah. Like if Joshua Dobbs passes for, 250 to 300 yards and they lose by 7 to 10 points, you're like, damn, are the Cardinals for real? Because they've had a pretty they've had it hard. The next 5 weeks, especially after the 49ers, will be pretty difficult. Right? So like, damn, is it really worth bringing back Kyler? Is it worth starting him? If we're already performing this well, we just face really tough opponents.
Yeah.
Then that conversation, like you said, really gets really interesting about, are they a playoff team with Joshua Dobbs versus Kyler? So it'll be interesting to watch. It'll be definitely a game I tune into for sure. And I'll be rooting kind of for the Cardinals.
I'm going to be rooting for the Cardinals 110%.
I love the underdog, right? So like any team I don't have, if they're not like a team I love watching or a team I love, I usually like to root for the underdog because it's more fun and more entertaining for me. So the Cardinals will definitely be a team I'll be rooting for, even though I love CMC.
Me too. I'm here for it. 49ers probably going to win it. It might get ugly, but I do think the Cardinals have a chance to make something happen. And I think this would be a statement win that turns their season completely around if they pulled it off.
Even if they don't win, I think it'll kind of turn their season around if they put up the more points, because this would be the toughest defense they face. So if they do well offensively, I still think that gives them a lot of confidence and a boost, even if they do lose.
Yep. And speaking of underdogs, let's talk about the homer dog of the week. New York Jets hosting the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh, it's going to be ugly.
It's going to get ugly. It's going to get ugly.
It's going to be ugly. I love the Jets defense, but their offense just looks horrendous. And I'm not starting anyone on the Jets offense, fantasy-wise.
Not even Breece Hall?
No. Not even Breece Hall.
Not even Breece Hall.
No, he hasn't really... So they still kind of have Breece Hall on pretty much a snap count, essentially, because I think he played like 40 snaps, 32 snaps, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
Last week. He had like 18 carries, something like that. But he hasn't been very effective with those carries. So
the Chiefs are good though. I think that this will be the blowout this week.
I think it is gonna be a blowout, and I think having Jones back is the difference maker for the Chiefs. I think if they had Jones for the Lions week 1, it's a Chiefs win.
Yeah.
Personally.
He swings at least 1 point, 100%. And if they have Kelce week 1?
No. They didn't. So, he was out week 1.
Yeah,
so I think those are the difference makers.
That's like a 10 to 14 point swing on those two players alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Jones is very big in the run game. He would have stopped Montgomery.
Montgomery wouldn't have looked as good.
No. But I am taking the over on this game because I think the Chiefs score at least 35 points minimum.
I do too.
I think the Jets don't score a touchdown, but I think they get field goals. I think they probably get like 6 to 9 points and push it just above the over. But it's going to be probably the ugliest blowout of the week. Not a 50-point blowout like we saw last week, but it's probably going to be like a 24 to 28-point blowout.
I think this will be an uglier blowout because at least the Broncos, they showed some points of confidence at some points of that game. You know, I think the Jets might get dismantled here. I'm talking.
Okay, you know what? I could agree with that. Because I think the Jets have a much uglier offense than the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying.
It might not be as many points, but like the Broncos, like there's kind of like a reason you can like reason with it a little bit. Like, well, the Dolphins had one of those games. Like, first of all, we can all agree the Dolphins, they played their asses off and they had a great game. They got a little lucky too. You don't score 70 points without a little bit of luck. It's just sometimes the wind's blowing in your favor. And it kind of takes away a little bit of the fact that, the Broncos got their ass whooped. It's more the Dolphins scored 70, not the Broncos got their ass whooped. With the Chiefs and the Jets, like, I really could see the Chiefs just really dismantling this Jets defense. And, like, this could be a season-ending game for the Jets.
Yeah, and kind of go with that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets are shut out.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they don't score any, and it's like a 35-0. Yeah. Which in that case, then, the under wins, but I still think the Jets are going to get like 9 points, right? I think they're only going to get field goals.
You don't ever bet on a shutout, but
I still think they're going to get some field goals because the Jets defense is good enough to, I think, force some turnovers. But yeah. I get what you're saying, and I would agree that it is going to be like an uglier type blowout, and it is going to demoralize the Jets probably.
Yeah,
and cause some frustration because we already saw that frustration on the Jets with the Jets offense last week, with players arguing with each other and arguing with Zach Wilson and everything like that.
Yep.
Chiefs. So I wouldn't be surprised.
I lock in Chiefs on that game. And you lock in Chiefs. And let's go. Let's go ahead and go into our final matchup of the week. Seahawks, Giants.
Yes. My boy from Michigan State, Kenneth Walker. 2 touchdowns the last 2 weeks, bro. Oh,
Yep.
2 touchdowns each game the past 2 weeks.
I'm taking
Oh my
Seahawks here, man.
god.
I like them a lot.
Oh, Seahawks easy.
Yeah.
I don't like that
Especially
Giants offense. They look ugly. Daniel Jones looks like he's got that contract fever.
and Saquon's questionable at this point. If Saquon starts, it might be a different story. But
I don't
if
think it's going to be a different story. I think it's going to still be Seahawks easy, but the Giants haven't with the if the Giants have Saquon that game, I think it makes it a little bit closer. But if they don't have Saquon, that makes them very one-dimensional.
yeah,
So I think it's going to be Seahawks easy, but
the line is even, by the way.
But it'll make it harder if the Giants have Saquon.
Line is even at 47.5, which is might be the highest we've seen tonight.
Yeah, I think because before this it was 47, I believe. I'll take the under.
I'll take the under.
I don't think the Giants are going to score that much points, especially if they don't have Saquon.
100%.
I might not even start in fantasy terms. I might not even start Danny Dimes.
Yeah, I wouldn't start Daniel Jones this week. I start Geno. I start Walker. I start Metcalf. I'd probably start Waller on the Giants side.
Yeah, he's 12 for 132 right now.
Yeah.
So I probably would. Okay, so then would you start? All right, so a little fancy. Would you start JSN or Tyler Lockett?
Lockett.
Or both? Lockett. Okay.
Lockett. He's got 2 touchdowns on the year. He's averaging 0.75 touchdowns a game. He's averaging like 33 receptions a game or 33 yards.
33. Damn. I was like,
damn, PPR monster. And 4 receptions a game. So like you do that math, it's like 12 points a week on average is what you're banking on. 10 to 12 points a week on average is what you're banking on with Lockett.
Yeah, because I mean, JSN's the solidified right now, at least the wide receiver 3 in that offense.
Yeah.
Which is fair because, I mean, he's a rookie and he wasn't going to take over Lockett right out the gate.
No.
Necessarily. But Metcalf is the certified start as at least a wide receiver in the Seahawks offense. Yeah. Geno's an easy start. Geno's an easy start. He's looking good, not great so far, but he has like 740 yards and 4 touchdowns.
I think he's
weeks, which is really good.
I think he's projected to be like the 9th ranked quarterback in fantasy this week. So like,
yeah, I'll take that. Like,
yeah, that's
especially against the weak Giants team, defense and offense. Like they have not performed great or good. They haven't performed well at all in really any game. And their one win, I think they got lucky. Personally,
me too. I think Seahawks take it by like 2 touchdowns. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and do a run through real quick. Quick run through, quick breakdown, final lock-ins. All right. Lions, Packers. Lions. Jaguars, Falcons.
Jags.
Dolphins, Bills.
Dolphins.
Fin up, baby. Vikings, Panthers. Panthers. Broncos, Bears.
Dog, this is gonna be a shit show. Broncos.
Bears. I'm going Bears if I got to pick one, but that's my tie of the week. Ravens, Browns.
Ravens.
Steelers, Texans.
This is like my tie.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna stick with the Texans.
I'm gonna go Steelers. Rams, Colts.
Rams.
Bucks, Saints.
Bucks, but only if Derek Carr doesn't play.
The Saints either way. Commanders,
Eagles.
Fly. Yep. Bengals, Titans.
Bengals.
Who dey? Raiders, Chargers. Who dey?
Chargers.
Patriots, Cowboys. You were saying Cowboys earlier. Did I change your mind?
I was saying Cowboys earlier, but I'm gonna have to keep repping my team, Patriots.
I'm going Patriots too. All right, Cardinals, 49ers.
I so desperately want to say Cardinals, but 49ers, I think, take it pretty easy.
Fuck it. Cardinals.
I swear to God, if they win.
Oh, bro. That'd be the craziest.
That'd be so
Fuck
funny,
it.
but
I think that there's better odds than they're being given, first of all.
I
Like,
do too. I agree.
yeah,
I
like I
think the
think the
Cardinals have
Cardinals
a
are low key
very
better.
I think the Cardinals have a good shot, and I think but I think a lot of that comes from the 49ers offense has looked stale at times.
Yeah.
So I like the Cardinals' chance, but I don't think they get it done.
Yeah. I think that's realistically what's going to happen, but I'm picking Cardinals as my team.
Yeah, so you can come back and say, "Oh, I picked them if they win."
Hey, who picked the fucking? Because it's a win-win either way. Because it's like, oh yeah, Shane picked the Cardinals as kind of the meme pick, whatever. But like, if I'm right, I'm like, see, I had faith.
I hope
You
they
know?
don't win, so I don't have to hear that shit. Like, yeah, Austin, I picked them.
Hey, I don't brag about it that much. Like I mentioned one of my
That's
previous
true. That's
predictions.
true. You're not
I'm
like
not
Ben.
Ben. I'm not like Ben. I only mentioned the Broncos because I was like, they're going to get whooped by at least 20 points. And I was right, but I didn't think
Yeah.
50.
I don't think
I was like,
anyone thought 50. I don't think anyone
yeah.
thought that.
Yeah. So then Chiefs, Jets.
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Seahawks, Giants.
Seahawks.
Rep the 12.
All
And I'm
right.
not talking the police. Why don't you go ahead and close us out, Austin, since I opened us?
No, I was about to ask you, who do you think is going to be your kind of sleeper pick for this week?
You know, you know, I hate to say it. I really do. I think Pat Fryermuth is my sleeper. I think he's going to be tight end one this week. I do. There's a few reasons behind that, though.
Oh God, I would like to hear this. Please explain. Even though you talk about the Steelers, but please explain. Indulge.
I think it's specifically because it's going to be the soft spot in the Texans defense. I think that's where Kenny Pickett's going to get the most opportunities when he's passing. So I think he's going to have like eight to 10 targets. And Pat Fryermuth catches like 75% of his targets. So if he gets 7 catches or 8 catches in a game, that's automatically 7 to 8 points. Not assuming that he's getting any yards. That's already pretty good. But let's assume he gets 50 yards and a touchdown. Like, that's a realistic game. We're looking at,
Okay.
12 to 20 points.
I don't hate that because I mean we saw the Texans did versus Evan Ingram last week with the Jags, right? So okay, I can understand your thinking. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'll take that.
Because I think they're going to be double teaming George Pickens. Deontay Johnson's probably not coming back. Calvin Austin, like he's a speed guy. He might get a splash play here and there. Like I think that's a sleeper option because like he's just that talented. But I think the Texans secondary is good enough to go ahead and keep him contained. He might get a catch for a splash play, and if you want to bet on that, go ahead. But I think Fryermuth is going to be a consistent player in this game that like is not being talked about at all by anybody. And like as I said, this is going to be the knock on wood easiest defense that Kenny Pickett has played against.
Potentially. I kind of think like my sleeper is kind of in between Tank Dell for the Texans against the Steelers because I think Steelers are going to focus a lot on Nico Collins. So I think that's going to open up a lot for either Tank Dell or Dalton Schultz, but I think it's going to lean more towards Tank Dell on the outside / in the slot.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think Breece Hall has a chance to actually slowly explode because they've eased him in the previous 3 weeks. I think they're going to start getting him more heavily involved because that Jets offense needs that running game.
Yeah.
With the way Zach Wilson is playing and the way that passing attack has played, I think they need that rushing attack to actually take some form. Having Dalvin Cook and fucking Breece Hall in the same backfield. And not to mention Michael Carter as a third fucking running back.
Yeah.
I think Breece Hall could be a good play, but that Jets offense, though, has me so depressed.
Yeah,
to be honest. But like Breece Hall is kind of my dark horse, I guess, and Tank Dell is more my sleeper type pick. Because I think Nico Collins is that certified number 1 in that offense. but I think Tank Dell could play well. I also think what's his face from hold on, I gotta look it up from the 49ers. I am blanking on his name. I picked him up. Wide receiver. No, I clicked the wrong button.
You're not Ronnie talking Bell. About Ronnie Bell. Yeah, Ronnie Bell could be a potential.
I think he could have a very good game. I don't think he's really starter worthy. But I think he could quietly have like, a 10, 15-point game.
Me too.
And I kind of expect it against the Cardinals, honestly. So that'd be probably actually my actual sleeper, Ronnie Bell.
All right.
All right, Shane, go ahead, send us out.
Well, thank you guys a lot for watching. Thank you for hanging out this long. If you have been here this whole time, much appreciated. We appreciate
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours. Holy shit. This might be our longest episode up to date. It's crazy how long we can go.
It is.
It is.
Before that, it was like an hour and 30 minutes.
It's crazy what happens when it's just Austin and I just like shifting back and forth and no one's getting pissed at each other.
Crazy how that works.
Huh? Yeah. Well,
goddamn.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give me a follow over at twitch.tv/Dripmation. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment. Help us out. Show us to your friends. We much appreciate it. And on behalf of the Sporting Lounge, have a great night.
Bye.
Loser.